Thank you for being here. It is 6:31. I will call the meeting to order, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May I please have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Birgit. Is there support?
Support.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda is approved. As this is our first meeting of the year, of the calendar year, I should say, this is also our organizational meeting. So at this time, I would like to call the Board of Education's annual organization meeting to order. During this portion of the meeting, the board will elect its officers, appoint members to board committees, and adopt the Board of Education meeting calendar for the 2026-2027 school year. In accordance with board operating procedures, the offices of President, Vice President, Treasurer, and Secretary are elected annually at this meeting. Any board member may nominate any other board member, and nominations do not require a second. Once nominations are closed, a vote will be taken. A majority vote of the members currently serving on the board is required for election. If more than one candidate is nominated, a roll call vote will be conducted. The first person to receive four votes will be elected to that position. We will continue using the same nomination and voting process for each officer position until all offices have been filled. To begin, I would like to call for the nomination for the office of president. Does anyone have a nomination?
I'd like to nominate Daniel Brissett to be the president.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, this is a little odd, but I have to ask, am I willing to accept the nomination? I am. So with that, nominations are closed, and we will move to the vote. It is not a roll call, as we do not have a second nomination. So all in favor of Danielle Brissett being elected president, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. I will remain in my role.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you, Scott. I would like to call for the nomination of the office of vice president. Does anyone have a nomination?
I'd like to nominate Heather Sinawi for vice president.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? Nominations are closed. All in favor of Heather Sinawi being elected, I'm sorry, do you accept the nomination?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor of Heather Sinawi being elected vice president, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And Heather will fill the role of vice president. Thank you. I'd like to call for the nomination for the office of secretary. Does anyone have a nomination?
I'd like to nominate Susan Flaherty for the office of secretary.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? Nominations are closed. Susan, do you accept the nomination? Yes. Okay, excellent. All in favor of Susan Flaherty being elected secretary, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Excellent. And Susan will fill the role of secretary. And lastly, excuse me, I would like to call for the nomination for the office of treasurer. Does anyone have a nomination?
I'd like to nominate Jake Singer.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? Nominations are closed. Jake, do you accept the nomination?
I do.
Thank you. All in favor of Jake Singer being elected treasurer, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Excellent. And Jake is our treasurer for the year. Okay. Next, we'll move to the committee appointments. After reviewing everyone's interest forms, it was clear that board members expressed a strong interest in serving on multiple committees. Some members requested to step away from committees they served on in 2025, while others expressed interest in joining different committees. After carefully considering all interests, I am happy to report that nearly every committee is filled with members who expressed interest in serving. While not every board member was able to be assigned to every committee of interest due to the number of members who expressed interest, this reflects the strong willingness of our board to serve on multiple committees and support the work of the board. With that, The committee assignments are as follows. If I can find, here we are. I was like, here. And I printed them so people don't have to try to follow along. It's easier. Hang on, you guys. And I have enough for, I think, the room at this point. I don't know. Did I get crazy? Probably. Here we go. And I'll just read them out loud as well. For the Committee of Finance, Jake, Danielle, and Birgit. Policy, Jeff, Susan, Scott. Superintendent Evaluation Committee, Birgit, Heather, Jake. Lamp of Learning Committee, Jeff, Jake, Scott. Curriculum, Danielle, Susan, Heather. Board Self-Assessment, Scott, Jeff, Danielle. And then for the Oakland Schools Budget representative, that will be Jake. OCSBA Government Relations will be Birgit. Sexuality Education Advisory, Heather. And Wellness will be Jeff. So, with that, those will be our 2026 committees. And then lastly, in the last part of our organizational meeting, but also in our board packet is the calendar for the 2026-27 school year, Board of Education, I should say, our Board of Education meeting calendar for the 2026-27 school year, which we adopt actually in this part of the meeting. So may I please have a motion to adopt the calendar as presented?
I move to adopt the 26-27 school year board meeting calendar as presented.
Thank you, Jake. Is there
Support.
support? Thank you so much. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And the motion carries. Thank you. And with that, that concludes the organizational portion of tonight's meeting, and I will officially close the organizational meeting, and we will move on with our, I'm sorry. Julie, I'm sorry, yes, I didn't see you. See, this is going to be weird for me. Jumping
Danielle,
up.
I apologize.
No worries.
But it is traditional for the president to be a part of the superintendent evaluation committee. And as you are continuing to serve, I don't see you named on that committee.
What's that? Go ahead, Barry. I'm like speaking.
Is that required on the board operating procedures? I don't think it's required.
I don't know that it's necessarily a requirement, but we have done that for
Right, we have that.
as long as I can remember.
As long as I'm like,
I mean, does it have to be 3?
yes.
Yeah.
That is
Can't be more than 3.
Right.
correct.
Have a quorum. Would you like to take time to reevaluate and
Yes,
come back to that?
yes, thank
so we
you.
can move
Thank you,
forward?
Birgit, for that suggestion. We will reevaluate and come back to that.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so with that, we will move forward with our meeting. So we'll turn to Adam sorry, I'm looking to right. Hi, I'm over here. The new certified staff candidate introductions.
Thank you, Danielle. We have 2 candidates that I'm bringing before you tonight for approval. One was able to make it tonight, so I will start with Rachel Hauer. Rachel is being brought before you tonight with the recommendation to become our new Phases teacher in the Phases program. Rachel earned her bachelor's degree from the University of Toledo, and she is coming to us after previous teaching experience in Troy Community Schools and the Avondale School District. We are very excited to welcome Rachel to our Dragon family, and I'm happy to recommend her for hire as our Phases teacher.
Awesome, welcome.
Thanks for being here tonight.
Yes, thank you.
Our second candidate who is not able to be here, just a quick introduction. She probably doesn't need much of an introduction because she's no stranger to Lake Orion. This is Kimberly Blackstock. She will be recommended tonight as an LRC teacher at Stadium Drive. Kim earned her bachelor's degree from Central Michigan, master's from Oakland, previous teaching experience in Bloomfield Hills. Her daughter graduated from Lake Orion recently. Her son is a junior at the high school, and her husband teaches phys ed at Walden Middle School. The Blackstock family has been a key piece of our school district and greater school community for many years, so we're very excited to welcome Kim to the Lake Orion family in this capacity at Stadium Drive as well.
Thank you. And to add on to that, Kim did send me a message via social media earlier and just wanted me to extend her gratitude and thanks for the opportunity to teach in her community. And she wanted me to pass it along to all board members, so congratulations to both. So we're very excited to have you.
Yes. Clearly, we know you're willing to risk your life.
Yeah,
So I appreciate that your willingness to be here. So,
Exactly.
high bar, yep. Thank you.
Welcome.
Right, and as we like to tell, and I'm sure Adam will tell you as well, you are not obligated to stay. You may stay, but you are not obligated, but we do appreciate you being here this evening.
Thank you. Yeah. Please do. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And next, recognition, so I'm going to turn that to Heidi.
Yes, January is Board Recognition Month. And so Lake Orion Community Schools joins 537 local and 56. Oh, I thought you were saying something to me, sorry. And 56 intermediate school districts across Michigan to celebrate January as School Board Recognition Month. As board members, you have persevered through many challenges in 2025 to provide a great education for our Dragons. Celebrating School Board Recognition Month is one of the very small ways to express our appreciation for all you do. You represent the views and priorities of our community in the complex system of maintaining and operating our schools. You also enforce the principle of local control over public education, which is an important, highly valued aspect of education in Michigan. A school board's main goal is to support student achievement. To achieve that goal, you have accomplished much this year, including the following: approved multiple opportunities to inspire students, supported our strategic plan impacting students, staff, parents, and the community, implemented bond projects approved by the community through fiscal oversight, collaborated and learned together to build a stronger governance team, aligned the use of the district's financial resources, supported a safe and orderly climate where students can learn and teachers can teach, and collaborated to solve problems and to support success. Even though we are making a special effort during January to show you our appreciation through these words, cards, small gifts, we recognize your contributions reflect a year-round voluntary effort. No matter what challenges lie ahead for our district in 2026, you will continue to govern to improve student achievement and provide exceptional education for all of our Dragons. Thank you to each of you for your dedication and service to Lake Orion Community Schools. Birgit McQuiston, 14 years of service. Scott Taylor, 11 years of service. Jake Singer, 7 years of service. Danielle Brissett, 5 years of service. Susan Flaherty, 5 years of service. Heather Sanawi, 3 years of service. And Jeff Faber, 1 year of service. And at your places this evening are calendars and pens and cards and some treats. And we will also be celebrating at the end of the month at the board meeting as well. So all the month of January. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Heidi.
Excuse me, that moves us to learning highlights and communications update with Mr. Mark Snyder.
Thank you, Danielle. Am I doing this or you?
Touching it, I'm like my kid. Does it work? No, it's just the monitor. You can't touch it.
Okay. Thank you very much, Danielle. We're going to start off with sellout. Obviously, sellout is one of the biggest things that happens at the high school every year. There's a lot of time put into it by the leadership class to prepare, and it continues to evolve. They had over 1,800 kids who came in as per usual, and they took their phones and they received a T-shirt, and their phones went into a bag. They kept it with them the day, but they didn't use it. And that was all, they were all checked in, and that was an exciting time. There's a lot of music and a lot of dancing when they come in. It's exciting for the staff and the students. It's really a unique day. And then in the middle of the morning, after second hour, there was an assembly, and it was honoring the community heroes. And so there were over 30 community heroes who were veterans, active military, police, fire, and they all did they all participated in a volleyball game and games with students over the hour, and it was really lively, and it's a great opportunity to recognize the heroes. And a large donation will be made to a charity, on behalf of the heroes by the leadership class. So, thank you. Teen Court is a program that is in conjunction with the Rochester Hills 52nd District, 3rd District Court, and what they did this week, R.J. Key is a high school teacher, an AP Gov teacher at the high school, and what he does is he offers to all the AP Gov students to come at one point during the year. They're going monthly at this point, and they came to the court. There's a teen who is unaffiliated with the school, but who has broken a law, and they had their proceedings except for the sentencing. So they come, and the students participate either as a prosecutor or a defense attorney, or as jurors or bailiff. As you can see, one of our students was the bailiff, and he checked everyone in. And they go through the real procedure, and they talk about the case, they ask questions, and then there's a verdict. They go to the jury room, and there's a verdict that is rendered and everything. It was really an interesting experience. It was it took some twists and turns that people didn't expect, so it was really interesting, real life. Heidi and Drew and I were there this week, and it was really educational. And one of the things that really resonated with us the most is a lot of the things that we teach in schools are in school. And it's that interaction. But this was real world. They saw real world consequences and what happens. And to make that connection is really what we're trying to do too, because we want to prepare them for what happens when they get out of the school. So it was really impactful. So. Principal for a day, this happens at a number of schools in various settings, and Stadium Drive, Ms. Hines came with one of her students this week and met with Cabinet on Monday, and they had some conversations and stuff about what's going on with her, and she spent the day with Ms. Hines in the school as well. So, Josh Snyder, who is a senior at Lake Orion High School, spends a lot of time as a figure skater individually, working on his craft, and he's been doing this for 10 years or whatever, and now he's one of the best in the country. He went to the U.S. Figure Skating Nationals for the first time and competed in the junior men's, and he finished 8th out of 18 of the best skaters in the whole country in his age group. And now he's waiting to see if he's going to be selected for some international competitions as well. But just finishing 8th the whole country in figure skating, which you obviously know is so competitive, is fascinating. His father, Bill Snyder, is one of our high school substitutes. He's there, the building substitute, so he's there every day, and he's really part of the culture there, so it's really great. And everyone was watching, especially the high school staff, with bated breath. It was on Peacock, so everyone was able to watch and cheer Josh on and everything like that. It was in St. Louis where he competed, so. Team 302, once the 2026, the new year starts, that's when it goes from middle school and elementary who had done it before to high school, and then it gets, serious robotics time. They have to build their field, and so they can practice and build the robot and everything, and a lot of that went on last weekend. So they come in on the weekend at CERC, and they're using that field, and it was very exciting, and they're all excited to be, kicking off their school year, and the competitions, we'll be sharing those as they go forward, and the great success of our team, obviously. STEM Award, Dr. Haas congratulated Isabella Simpson and Kira Bellant for receiving the Certificate of Merit from the Society of Women Engineers at Michigan Technological University. It recognizes outstanding female high school seniors for their exemplary ability in math and science, as well as future interest in STEM-related careers. So it was really great to recognize them. The Detroit Lions had an assembly at Blanche Sims Elementary. PTO brought them in Rory. The mascot was a big hit with all the students, a lot of pictures taken, a lot of interactions, a lot of Lions gear. And it just shows the Lions don't have to have a great season for everyone to still celebrate them, so. The Pomeroy Games, this is a cool thing. Scripps Middle School has now joined the Positivity Project like many of our other schools, and they started a leadership group this year, and they didn't really know how it was gonna go, but they've had a lot of interest. They have 11 students in the class this year, and Brock Stallions, one of our longtime teachers, is leading it. And one of the things that they wanted to do, especially being so close to Pomeroy, the Pomeroy facility, is to go over there and be able to interact with the residents. And they've been playing games. They went and you saw that the residents were participating in chair volleyball sort of kind of thing. That was the first time. Then today I was over there and they were doing some bowling with the residents and interacting with them, having conversations. And it's really, they have a new activities director at Pomeroy and she's really receptive to them coming in. So that's a great thing. That's something what's been one of Heidi's big initiatives, right, is connecting with the community. And this is something that they did, you know, kind of on their own and the students wanted to do it. So the leadership class is really off to a great start at Scripps. Middle school band, this was from before the break. You know, one of the final days, they went around, the jazz bands, which were the clubs, went around to come to the elementaries and played some music and everything, so that was really fun. And there, of course, the interaction between the levels is something that we really encourage. The athletic signing occurred before the break. 17 LO student athletes talked about and signed for their next career and where they're going to go and participate in athletics at colleges and universities, so that was exciting. Carpenter always has their market day right before the break. 4th and 5th graders, you know, came up with a product, marketed a plan, and pitched it to their fellow students, and they sold with bucks that they had earned throughout the year for being good and doing stuff in class. So there was a lot of pride in a lot of those presentations for sure. The Winter Wonderland concert was held. It's one of the few times that the choir is with the band, and it was a daytime concert. It's a wonderful concert. They do all these things. They have a nice program, and there was attendance from the community. Pomeroy residents came to that as well, so that was really nice to get them in the building. And finally, Holiday Spirit. It's always, I know it seems like it's been a while ago, but it's really fun that they do these themes, and especially, you know, Stadium Drive, and I'll give credit to Gretchen Hines, the principal of Stadium Drive, and Ken Noose, the principal at Blanche Sims. They dress up, they get into it, they really get active, and the students love it. You know, those elementary students, they're just eyes, they get off the bus and what's today, what's happening, where is Mr. Noose, is he on the sign, is he in the hammock? Is he taped to the wall? You know, whatever it is. So that's it. Any questions?
Questions?
Thank you very much, Danielle.
Thank you, Mark. Next is our presentation. I will turn that over to Drew.
All right, thank you so much. Tonight I am excited to welcome a couple of our teams here to provide some updates on some curriculum proposals as we've shared over the past couple weeks and months. Had a lot of different things that have been going on as Carrie and I have taken a look at our curriculum. So first off, I'd like to welcome Wendy Burns to come up and share some updates regarding our science curriculum. So, and Caitlin, yes.
All right. First of all, thank you for your time this evening. And we would like to thank our Future of Science Committee, which is a cohort of the Science Department, and also the teachers who have been working on the pilot over the last couple of years for their hard work in learning new instructional strategies and being open-minded to change and the implementation of a research-based curriculum centered on best practice. Okay, so the reason that we are here tonight is that about 20 years ago, we last had a curriculum at adoption here at Lake Orion High School, and the textbook that was purchased and selected was from the early 2000s. And at the time, the textbook aligned with the Michigan Science Standards that we were working with in a very traditional instructional setting. And then in 2015, Michigan adopted the Michigan Science Standards, which aligned with the next generation science standards, which really went very in-depth in not only the content areas, but adding in cross-cutting concepts in science and engineering practices that I'll explain more in a moment. The standards are just fundamentally different than a traditional textbook teaching. And the high school, as we worked through these science standards since 2015, since we worked through those standards, we tried to get the standards to fit, but with the materials we had, it was just not working in the way that it is intended. And the STEM coaches several years ago, along with the science curriculum specialist, Jamie Kimber at the time, they had done a lot of hard work at the elementary and middle school levels to adopt curricula aligned, and now we are seeking continuity of that at the high school. Okay, so a brief overview of the next generation science standards. Again, this is very much, it's considered to be three-dimensional. So students are generating questions, they're using phenomenon and what's known as a storyline to connect the learning and apply the learning. There's a lot of data collection and analysis, and what we're really trying to do is have the students become the thinker and the doer of the science, and not just learning through a more traditional way. We don't want them memorizing content. We want them to see how the content fits in the world and how they can apply the content to other situations outside of that storyline and the phenomenon. So those three dimensions that I mentioned start with the disciplinary core ideas, and NGSS, along with the Michigan Science Standards, have arranged those into physical science, life science, and earth science. So if you were to look at the more in-depth view of these, you would see that's the more traditional content that you would see in those classes, but they also add in the expectations that students are able to use these cross-cutting concepts to go in depth on those concepts, and the scientific and engineering practices also add that third layer, third dimension to their learning. These are very much the three dimensions are research-based. They are best practices for instruction, and it's also really difficult for teachers to create content that truly makes this three-dimensional. Our teachers, the entire department had gone through training several years ago now, 7 or 8 years ago, to try to add these pieces in, and it's this incredibly difficult, even with the very best team that we have in our department. It's very difficult to do all three dimensions with fidelity. We can hit 2 really well, you can occasionally get to 3, it's just very difficult, very time-consuming. The M-STEP is also written with these 3 dimensions, and so really in the last 4 to 5 years, M-STEP has gone in this direction. They are writing assessments where they don't want students to just completely spit out what they have learned, but be able to apply what they have learned to a new situation. So this is just a more recent snapshot. As I had just said, we did have the entire department go through some training about 7 or 8 years ago to try to do this three-dimensional. And in the spring of 2024, the science specialist, January Stafford, and I said that we really need to have a future of science committee. What do we want to do? What can science look like in the department? And so every member was invited to join. The teaching and learning department funded. They gave us some money so that we could start to pilot some of the curriculum. At the time, we were going to go with a couple biology units, and we were going to try out some of the physics and chemistry units. We asked everybody in the department if they were interested in going to these level up trainings at Oakland schools. At that time, Open Science was still very new to everyone in the department, and these trainings at Oakland schools, we were able to send 8 teachers to them, and it was a 2-day learning experience where we looked at biology units, chemistry units, physics units, and the teachers were able to see what it's like to be a teacher of that content and also a student. So in a lot of the training, we sat there as if we are students moving through the curriculum. In spring of last year, we were still not entirely sold on the Open Science curriculum. We thought that there were just a few things that were lacking, and then we came across the Pasco version of Open Science. And what Pasco has done, they are a company that does, they creates a lot of lab sensors for data collection. They have a certified version of OpenSciEd, so they have organized all of the materials in a much clearer way for teachers to work through. OpenSciEd is open access, meaning that the curriculum is free to teachers. And they offer it as a Google Drive, which was very hard to navigate. Pasco, through the portal that we were able to get access to, has everything aligned very well for teachers. It has videos that teachers can see how the lab setups work with their materials, the sensors that we have purchased, and this made it much easier to navigate, and it brought the level of instruction up to make it easier to move through the content for teachers and for students. At that time, in spring of 2025, we thought that the plan, this is from the Future of Science Committee, would be taking our physical science class and splitting it into 2 half-credit classes using the OpenSciEd units. And we got more teachers on board with piloting units, and so by fall, we were able to have several science teachers pilot all of the OpenSciEd biology units, and we have teachers that are piloting the OpenSciEd physics and chemistry units. And we also realized, working with counselors, that colleges, whether students going into science or not, are really looking for a biology, chemistry, physics, 1-credit course on the transcript. And so our half credit was not going to work. And at this point, those involved in the Future of Science Committee were really impressed with the Pasco certified version of OpenSciEd. And we're very excited about the opportunities that it could bring to all students. So we informed Drew that perhaps we need to pivot here. And we kept him informed of what we had discovered so that Drew could make a better decision about how to move forward. Let's see.
Me. My name's Caitlin Kogan. I'm a classroom teacher. I've been involved in piloting a number of these units in physics and chemistry. And as Wendy said earlier, in 2015 we got the new standards, but we've just been, as teachers, trying to do them on our own. And so it has taken this long to get a curriculum that meets all of the standards. So we're looking at 10 years, basically, that has been involved in working to the point where it brings us OpenSciEd. So I'm gonna walk you guys through a little bit about what I've done, what we've learned as a department. So one of the first things we love about OpenSciEd is that it's researched and field tested extensively. So in the top left, you can see that there is a list of all the different types of parties that were involved in writing this curriculum. It's not just curriculum designers. We've got actual learning scientists, people with PhDs in there. They've collaborated with universities and other curriculum writing organizations. All of them have kind of dumped the best of what they've got into the OpenSciEd curriculum. The field testing on this is really impressive. They went to 10 state education agencies that ended up being hundreds of teachers, thousands of students for just the high school field testing alone that this ran through. And this is over the course of several years. You can see each individual unit goes through an 18-month development cycle, and they review it, and they do more field testing, they come back, they change it. And it's also always continually updated, which is a really nice thing about this as opposed to a textbook. If new science comes along, it gets added in automatically. We don't have to go through and be like, oh, we got to get a new textbook. It's in there all the time. And then this was built with UDL, Universal Design for Learning, which really allows it to hit every subgroup of student that we have in equal measure. If you look at the lesson plans that are written for the teachers, it has call-outs all the time through the entire thing about how you can specifically address different diverse learners. So students with disabilities, students who are learning languages, students who are high achievers, they call it gifted and talented here. It's not just like, oh, we've kind of incorporated it. It is specifically, each paragraph of the lesson says, here's how you can address and change and modify for those students. This curriculum has run.
Did I go too far?
No, you're good. I think you're fine. You're good. Yeah. So I am not sure if you're familiar with Ed Reports. They're a nonprofit that does K through 12 curriculum ratings. And they kind of run it through 3 different gateways, which is basically summed up alignment to the standards, design, right? How does it look? What are the kids doing? And then usability. Does it meet the teacher and student needs? All 3 Open SciEd courses for high school, bio, physics, chem, got what they call all green. They do like a traffic light, red, yellow, green moment. And this is all green. You can see the scores right there. Another one that's really, really important is the one on the right, which is the high quality design badge. That comes from the people that wrote the standards. And what that means is not only does this meet some of the standards, it meets all of them 3-dimensionally. So the content, the cross-cutting concepts, and the skills, those engineering science practices. So the NGSS standards, if you were to dig into them, they are broken down into 3 bundles content-wise. You've got your life science, your physical science, that's typically physics and chemistry, and then your earth and space science. Until Open SciEd came along, we at the high school were trying to run those 3 courses as our core model. So we had basically, taken our bio and our physical science and tried to make it fit the mold, and then we actually came up with an earth science class. Open SciEd takes that and they put it back into biology, chemistry, and physics as the 3 core courses. What's special about that is that it still covers the earth science standards that we are required to cover by the state, but it does so by integrating them into the 3 courses, which we've discovered is really, really powerful because it provides context to all of the content that they're learning in there. And my favorite thing, and I am slightly biased, I like earth science a lot, is that earth science itself is interdisciplinary. So it really ties together all 3 of your core subjects. Students get continuity from, the first course through the second course through the third course. It spirals back around and it builds this really big, rich picture for them, which we really like. Wendy touched on the Pasco portal. This was information that I wanted to provide specifically about what the Pasco portal can do for teachers, because we are not buying textbooks. So all of the information that a teacher would need is in this Pasco portal. It's curriculum access, so you get your lesson plans, you get some slide decks if you want to use them, links, videos, everything that people need. The biggest thing, and you'll see some examples of this on the next slide, is their equipment is top-notch. This integrates their equipment. So there is software that works with their lab equipment. It is lab grade, and it's all integrated into one spot. So you've got the curriculum and you've got the equipment that the students need, kind of talking to each other. And then there is some professional development, just some small supports for teachers who are running through this the first, second, third time, that kind of need to know how to use the technology or the curriculum.
So this is showing some of our students using the Pasco sensors that we have been able to purchase through money given to us through the Teaching and Learning Department. And again, at first glance of Open SciEd, not through Pasco, we were very skeptical because you'll see if you look at the picture on the left with the circuits, it was homemade generators, it was here's a wire, here's a battery, and a light bulb. And it just didn't seem to be at the level that we want for our students.
Had some weird Home Depot runs where they're like, what are you buying this for?
Right. And then when we came across the certified Pasco version of Open SciEd, we said, this is what we've been looking for. And I don't know if you want to just explain real quick what they're doing there, Caitlin?
Yeah,
That
so
was
those
the
are my
lab you ran?
students on the left. That is a full-blown, I call them circuit Legos. They are phenomenal. They're super cool. They allow kids to visualize energy flow, and we go into all kinds of things. Basically, they learn from the grid down to their home how electricity works. It's really cool to see, because it ties in kids who, I'm not a science kid. I'm going to go into these studies. And they're like, oh, this is really cool. There's science in this. I can do this. So that was one of the more powerful things that we used this semester from Pasco's stuff.
And we also, the middle picture are some wireless temperature sensors that again connect to a program that the students can access free through the Pasco website. And again, this to show that the difference and why we really like the certified Pasco version. The picture on the right, in the Open SIAD original writing, it was some yeast and sugar, and students were collecting data using a ruler and trying to estimate how tall some bubbles were. And instead, now we have them connected to CO2 sensors that get you real data for students to analyze. And again, that's what makes this version of Open SIAD so powerful.
We did include a couple of quotes, spell checked, of course, from the students, for you to kind of peruse. I wanted to call a couple of things out here. My students in particular have really enjoyed tying it into a real-life perspective. So they really enjoy it. You're like, oh, I can see this out in the world or in my home. Now I can explain something that I didn't even know could be explained. I think they've really enjoyed that. Some of them find it adds a level of importance to what they're learning. So it's not just about getting to the end of a course and getting the A. They're like, oh, wait, this is actually something that, again, I can apply and I can see in the real world, which they like. Some also gave feedback on they enjoy the way that this is taught. So it's not lecture, it's not rote memorization. They are coming up with questions, we are investigating those questions. So it does kind of give them the wheel a little bit, and it helps them take some ownership in what they're doing, which I found was really great with engagement and motivation and things like that. And then we've had a number of pilot teachers working on this. I believe everyone on the Future of Science Committee was piloting in some capacity. And then we've also brought in, we've had team talk classes, so we've had teachers from the special education department come in and work with this curriculum. We've had some ELL teachers come in, and across the board, these teachers are saying, this is great for meeting the needs of a diverse student population. It's built into there, and it makes something that's traditionally been very difficult to do actually sort of doable. It's possible. Like I said, there's a lot to do there. From my own personal perspective, I didn't put a quote from myself in there, but initially, so about 2 years ago when I was first starting to look at this Open SIAD stuff, I was pretty skeptical. I thought people were drinking the Kool-Aid, and I was like, nah, this isn't a thing. This isn't gonna work out. And I cannot stress enough the importance of a teacher actually engaging with this curriculum for 1 semester, 2 semesters, really getting into it. It's highly detailed. And it is, we keep using the word powerful, it's great to see what the students can actually do when they dig into this. There is rigor, you see students elevating what they thought they could do. And maybe I drank the Kool-Aid. But I think it's great from my perspective.
So what would implementation look like at the high school? I get the budget slide. So with the resource, right, we could go to the Open SIAD website and get all of the student documents, the teacher plans, free. But again, we found the Pasco certified version, which really makes it usable for teachers. And so that's got some costs. And then obviously the Pasco sensors, plus just the materials, the chemicals, there is some cost involved there. And so for implementation, you can see there we are trying to supply as many teachers as we can with materials that they can use in the classroom. And then our goal is to also stock 2 labs. So there's 2 labs that could use some of the biology labs and activities, 2 for the chemistry and 2 for physics. And then future costs, a lot of that is very flexible. I have learned in the last year looking at materials and costs, but we are estimating about $30,000 a year as we replenish and reuse those materials. The high school science specialist, January Stafford, and I, as the science instructional coach at the high school, we realized that, again, when we first looked at numbers, Pasco and other third-party vendors have kits that you can buy. So we could just say, we want to teach Unit 1, everything would show up, which would be lovely, but it's very, very, very expensive and very costly. And we found that since the material lists are very easy to find and they are there for us, we can source the materials. we are able to look around and say, oh, we already have that in the cabinet. We don't need it sent to us again. We can go through and find, well, instead of buying the whole kit, we can buy these materials separately. And so there is a drastic cost savings. The convenience of a kit would be lovely, but we just can't see justifying 6 figures for a little bit of ease. And we are willing to put in the work to track those materials down, put the kits together so that teachers are ready to go when it's time to teach those units. So in the student handbook, this is our current sequence of required courses. As Caitlin had said in an earlier slide, the way this Michigan has our science standards, they are arranged into biology, physical science, which is both the physics and the chemistry, and then earth science. We had offered an option to have students go for 4 credits or 4.5 credits and commit to biology, honors chem, and honors physics, or that option of AP and then earth. And as we realize that it's really that earth science integration piece that can make this very powerful, and the storylines and the phenomenon, we said we really need to use this curriculum across 3 classes: biology, chemistry, and physics. So what that can mean for students is that students now, if all students have those 3 credits, they could be done. That would meet their graduation path of biochemistry, physics. If they are students who love social studies, history, they can go on there. It also is streamlining to 3 credits versus the 4 or 4.5. You can see there's many ways that students, based on their interests and the pathway that they are wanting to focus on, they can still get to a variety of AP and honors classes, along with many other electives that we offer in the science department. This would also allow students, it's not on there since it's not technically science department, but science related. This would allow those students that are looking to go the Med Foundations route. Again, it gets them through those biology, chemistry, physics with earth science integrated.
One thing I like about this too, if you'll notice, is that if we have a student that wants to pursue higher level science, they can double up in one of their first 2 years of high school, which a lot of them will do anyways. And at that point, be completely done with their graduation requirement coursework. And so they have 2 full years to continue into whatever honors pathway they would like to be.
Questions or feedbacks?
My head's gonna be on a swivel, so. Birgit, did you have?
You have a couple of notes that I was trying to keep up with you guys and take notes for things I wanted to refer back to. The website, you kept referring to it as free. Literally, it's free. There's no upfront fee, no.
So to access the open science content, that is free.
Okay. That
We are choosing Pasco's certified version. There is a yearly fee of, I think, it's about $700. But that is for an unlimited amount of teachers. So as we get our co-teachers in for team taught, there's no extra cost. It's that yearly cost for the portal, and then it's as many teachers as we need to get into that portal.
Yeah, go ahead.
So another question then, since we're on the dollars, I was curious about a budget comparison, and you'd mentioned a $30,000 a year upkeep cost.
Yes.
By the way, I recall when we started with STEM coaches, I don't even remember how many years that's been when we hit elementary with coaching, and there was also a crossover with kits. Do you remember this? And the same thing, the same scenario, back then, 10 years ago at least, there was gonna be a fee, and our coaches took that on, so I'm assuming that's still ongoing. So there's a little experience in the science department already with doing that. But what I was interested in was you had mentioned a $30,000 a year cost. Do you have an estimate of what we've been spending? I'm sure the current science you do has a cost to it.
Yes, the high school science has been funded through the high school science budget, which I know you run the budget, so.
I do. We're at about $12,000 a year on a type sheet.
And that is for every,
That you've currently been doing, so the shift would move it up to 30,000 a year plus, does that include the 700 already?
Yeah, the
That's
700 is
rolled into
included
the
in that
30,000, okay. And then, and one other question I have is, you kind of touched on it, but I'm looking at this slide right here, and I'm noticing the basic science courses, and I see the AP that's still offered in there, but what's gone away is the honors courses, is that true?
yes.
And the implication with that in this current presentation of this new curriculum is that it's embedded in, is that my understanding, or did I infer that incorrectly?
Earth science is embedded in all three, instead of being a separate standalone course.
So, but referring to an honors level, like that in between the regular science classes and the AP for that in-between student, is that, so that's no longer gonna be an option?
Open SciEd is pretty clear in their writing that their courses are intended to prepare students to take an AP level course. A lot of the AP courses will list an introductory course as the only prerequisite that they would recommend for those courses.
And so doing that in that presentation, so I'm trying to think of it from a student perspective, right? Like who's the student that's gonna be going this very science something in here that you've done that's very focused, and just imagining if that's, I'm trying to process the lack of honors.
So part of the open side curriculum philosophy is that they're really building on those three-dimensional strengths to get them thinking like a scientist. So really, it's every student, whether they are the student going into trades to become an electrician, or they're going on to college and med school, they have the opportunity to think like a scientist, do science, apply science in this three-dimensional way, asking questions, observing, transfer of skills. And so really, we're leveling up all of the students' capacity. And it also gives every student an opportunity to realize, I like chemistry, I like physics, I see how it fits in my world, and it gives them the opportunity to move on.
Can I just ask a quick question? Can you clarify, I think for myself and maybe others, what honors classes that are no longer being offered?
It would be the honors chem and honors
Just
physics.
those specific
Just
two.
those
Okay,
two.
because we
Yes.
obviously see other honors classes on here, honors anatomy
Yes.
and phys, honors organic chem and things. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that, which two were not specifically being offered.
But there's still honors anatomy and physiology and
Yes.
honors organic chem,
Yes.
according to this.
Okay. Others. Heather.
And this came up, I know, in curriculum committee, essentially by now requiring they will have to take bio, chem, physics, right? So being eliminated is physical science and earth science as an option.
Yes.
And my concern in curriculum committee was that if a student wouldn't want to take chemistry, that essentially, because that can be a more challenging, right? Like if I was that student, is kind of what I thought. Like I'd be like, I don't have to take chemistry, sweet. Let me take earth science or whatever. And there are those students. But if we go this route, the students will be required, just so I'm clear on it, to take bio full credit, chemistry full credit, physics full credit. And prior to that, they didn't, right? So it was, and what was the,
It was biophysical science, earth.
and they could pick, or would they, did they have to do all three? Okay, that helps a little bit. And then we're going to a full credit, that was the other change, because we believe colleges are looking
Yes.
for that from those three.
Yes.
Okay.
We were already at a full credit, they just didn't drop it down to a half credit, because physical science now is a 1-credit course, is it not? Yeah.
Yes, but it's not, one of the interesting pieces I picked up from the counselors is that a lot of colleges are using AI to do an initial screening of a transcript. And so if they have it programmed in to look for biochem and physics, a student who took the biophysical science earth path,
Science doesn't get picked up, and we didn't offer chemistry, so our students, when, like they said, that like AI is a perfect term, the colleges are doing a screening, and they're like, wow, you only took biology, because they didn't understand our curriculum.
and that's, you know, not the motivator for this, but that was one piece of the puzzle that we had to consider in what we were bringing forward tonight.
Circa 1985, they called pre-calc math analysis, and they like, well, what is math analysis? It's freaking pre-calc, just call it what it is, so that everybody knows what we're offering our students. And like you said, we can meet the standards of all the things. So I like the fact that it's packaged as these 3 classes, and students, they're gonna get a lot of the same chemistry concepts that they were before across the courses. It's just a little bit of marketing of how we're gonna call these classes. But like you said, the earth science is still in there. The chemistry was in there before. The physics was in there before.
Okay, so essentially then, based on what he's saying and what you've shared, that while it says chemistry, is it accurate to say that it's just going to be the same things that were in the other courses as far as classwork, or it's going to be a full-load chemistry-focused class, right? Like,
I want to stress that this is not the chemistry or physics or biology that we grew up with. I mean, when we say fundamental shift, you would walk in and not recognize the way that this takes place. So because the instruction is happening differently, the content looks different. So what leads it is not, here's the title of a chapter and here's the sub-chapters and we're just gonna learn these things. What leads it is a story, right? And it goes through, and so there will be an earth science, we'll call it a phenomenon that they can't explain. Then they'll be like, oh, we're gonna do some investigations. We're gonna uncover chemistry ideas. So you need both. You need the earth science integration and you need the chemistry, the physics, the bio, the sciences, if you will. They complement each other. So I want to assure you that every single standard is covered, right? But it's the way that it's being covered that is going to look different, but to students' benefit.
I mean, to understand the added cost is a lot of the cost of doing experimentation. Like you say, science is a method of discovery.
Yes.
And the way we were taught was, hey, just sit back and try to understand, but if you can show them how it happens, that has a cost of.
And the physical science and the earth science had been doing what I'm gonna just lovingly call like kitchen labs before, and now we're gonna bring every single student that comes through the high school into a scenario where they can use lab-grade equipment and feel confident.
If we move forward with this, when would this start with the class entering freshman next year? This would be their set of requirements? Would the current high schoolers, or is the plan to, like, let's say you're a biology student right now, next year, if you're a current freshman, let's put it that way, would you be doing this track as well? Because the earth science, those would be basically eliminated. The honors chem, the honors physics would be eliminated next year. So basically, this is just for me as well, what if you're a current sophomore and you're currently in the physical science class?
They would move on to earth. They would complete their path.
Okay,
They would have that opportunity. And same thing for students. It's really that sophomore group, but they've in biology as freshmen. And so there's many combinations of students and how they've been able to fit their schedule for the honors. In the fall, they would be able to complete that path.
Okay, so the earth science would be
The earth
in
science.
the high school for at least one more year to get the current group that's in the physical science moved through, and then once those students are moved through, that particular class would be taken out of our curriculum.
Right.
Correct, okay.
And same thing with the lower route. Those students that are currently in the middle of that
Right,
would be able to finish it out.
okay.
Honors physics or honors chemistry will be offered next year for a student who was like, hey, I was planning to take that as a junior or
Yes.
senior.
Yes.
Now, where did that class go?
Right, because they intended, right, to do both of those, so we want them to be able to finish that path. And then the current freshmen would be able to take the chem and the physics and follow the purple path, so to speak.
Could you tell me how many of your science teachers were piloting this, as far as a number?
Yes, let's see. I have to do a smidge of math here. Let's see. I've got 5. Did you count the ones that are starting next semester? Okay, so currently 5 are piloting, and 2 more will be piloting next week. 1 in bio and 1 in physical science, doing the physics and the chemistry.
And from those piloting experience so far, any negative feedback, anything that people are, or teachers are bringing out that they're concerned about or will be a significant change? And then, because I just always wonder what the big change is, and you've done a good job of saying that there's more real-life application, it sounds like. So in your opinion, we weren't doing enough of that before? Because we were meeting the standards, we were just doing it in a more challenging way, it sounds like. And so the big thing that you said was that there's more real-life applications. You felt like we weren't doing enough of that before.
It was being done, teachers were certainly adding in real-world ideas to their classrooms.
Right.
But the way that this is done, and Caitlin alluded to that, is so different. Like, it's truly embedded, they can see it in their life, how it's different.
Got it.
The other, I would say one of the complaint I hear the most from teachers who are piloting is that since it's not traditional, it's really hard to catch up students who have been absent, because so much of the learning is conversation, it's whiteboards, it's making models, it's students asking questions, it's doing those hands-on activities that are really hard to replicate. And so the biggest challenge is, how do we support those students who are absent? And we're still trying to figure that out.
Thank you.
See, up and down the rows.
I just have a question. I know when other districts and schools have shifted curriculum like this, it's almost like they have a bubble of kids. Like, for instance, you know, when a district moved to doing basically this, biology, chemistry, and then physics, they had like a weird chemistry bubble. So they had to pull in teachers, you know, from other schools, you know, like a middle school teacher who's science certified. Secondary, is that a concern at all, that we're gonna like have like I was gonna call them bubbles of kids, because there's gonna be some overlap between the current track and the next track, I guess?
It should be fine.
Okay.
Teachers might have that 1 year where we still are offering everything.
Correct.
Teachers may be ending up with more preps than normal, but I don't anticipate that.
It's just a thought, because I've seen it in other districts where, like I said, there's sophomores and juniors both taking chemistry at the same time because of the curriculum shift, and that's caused some, classroom.
I think the math there for me is they're still taking 3 required science classes. So the total number of science credits that are likely to be attempted would stay similar. So it's what they're just, of what sections need to be offered. And it's gonna be tough the next couple of years, like she said, with preps. I thought about it, that, like, we're gonna have to offer many of the old ones, the physical science, the earth science, all of the new ones. So there will be more classes in their catalog until we can fully convert, which wouldn't be till the fall of '28 probably, when today's 8th graders and freshmen will be able to, but the next couple of school years, anybody who entered in, we gotta get this year's sophomores and juniors out.
Yes, yes, once we have them cycled through,
Not kicking them out the door anytime soon, like, they're gonna get a great experience, but.
This year's
Yes.
juniors are done, because it's only 3 credits that they require. So once they take earth science their junior year, they are done. So really, it's just the current sophomore.
Unless for some reason they held out and didn't.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, you get a couple stragglers that it didn't work out.
And while it was only one subject area, when we went through the change with bio to 9th and 10th grade and doing that, that was a little bit of a logistical juggle, but, so we do have a little bit of experience at the high school, but knowing there is going to be some transition in some of those that we're gonna have to work through, but, the department has gone through that with some experience before with bio.
Yeah, it's not that long ago that the earth science class got carved out and added, so this is a little bit of naming conventions going back to what was similar, but the way they're teaching the classes and aligning the standards they're the same in name only.
Yes, yes. And the other advantage we have is all of our new recent hires, this is how they are being trained to teach. They are being trained to teach three-dimensionally. And so they are coming in with a lot of knowledge because that's how they've been trained to teach these classes this way.
And you would know this, so essentially, they're gonna go, so with no longer the honors chemistry and then AP, right? That's typically the track, is honors chemistry and then AP.
Or honors physics.
Right, so, okay, so in those, so, without me knowing this, essentially, this will prepare them to go immediately into AP? Because that's gonna have to be their only option, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, and you guys feel confident that that's gonna prepare them? Any average student will go straight from, chemistry and wanna go that route and we'll be ready.
We've had conversations about this, extensive ones.
Okay,
We want to make sure that those students are prepared to
right,
go and be successful and score so that they can get credit. In open SciEd curriculum, it would be like a math problem-solving type situation where maybe the specific hardcore, if you will, math isn't covered in as much depth. But we are confident that the skills that they are getting here is a strong enough basis that they can then go on to learn those in the AP class and still be successful. You can see, I've done lots of research, casual research online, looking at AP teachers and their experiences with students coming out of this curriculum versus like an honors track. And many will say, yeah, my students are prepared for this.
if in a couple of years, if this moves forward and we realize it's not, making that route for them to be able to achieve successfully in AP and the feedback, we can reroute and adjust, right, at any time.
I will say
I don't know
this.
how long
and-
that sort of.
Yep. One of the things that, our department and our coaches and our teachers have always been very thoughtful about is that if we move forward with a decision and we get down a path and we see something that, I should backtrack. Going through the process we do with our, in this case, our Future of Science team, our curriculum renewal at the high school, with the process we have, we always feel very confident before we bring it forward to the board. However, with that being said, we also understand, reflection is a key piece of what we do. And what I can promise you is that whether it's science, world language, or any of the others that I brought forward, I would never draw a line in the sand and say 5, 6, 7 years down the road that we've made this decision and we're sticking to it if we see something that we need to come back and visit. So the thoughtfulness piece to that is always really key for us in making sure we're doing what we're here to do what's best for kids.
Absolutely, and I hope that didn't come across accusatory in any way. I just want to have an understanding that, because I don't have one, of essentially what it takes to get to that level of the advanced placement. So, okay, that's helpful. Thank you so much.
Well, and coming back to Drew's thoughtfulness, my understanding from your presentation and from conversations in curriculum committee was that's what started this journey. We looked at our existing curriculum, realized that it wasn't necessarily meeting all of the standards that we have now with NGSS, and it was quite old, and the textbooks were quite dated as well. Is that correct?
Yes.
So if I may, one thing I haven't heard you refer to, and in light of Heather's questions, surely we've looked at other districts who've adopted this to see what their success rate is with students?
Yes, it is relatively new curriculum that's rolled out. The science specialist and I have had many conversations with people at Oakland schools. When we go to MSTA, Michigan Science Teachers Association, it's always like, what curriculum do you use? What are you doing? And we are having those conversations. We are taking teachers to Rochester in a couple of weeks. They are using OpenSciEd in chemistry, and we're going to have an opportunity to find out how they were able to transition to that curriculum. And we also get a chance to hear from the AP teacher the chemistry to AP route. And so we certainly are talking to other districts that are using this.
Appreciate that.
Rochester is in full implementation, or are they still in pilot also?
It's my understanding it's full implementation.
Do you know how long they've been doing it? Off the top of your, it's okay if not.
I don't.
Yeah,
I would
that's no
guess
problem.
a year or two.
And they
because it's
also
still
had to take
relatively
out their honors chemistry?
I do not know if they
Okay.
had honors chemistry.
Okay.
They didn't. I know
Okay.
that other districts go right from chemistry, physics into the AP. So that's our.
Not uncommon.
Not uncommon to see there's not an honors stop along the way. So from what I've seen in what I do, so.
One thing I'll say that I have more confidence in the science department than anybody else, because the final step in the scientific method is retest your hypothesis. It's my favorite. It's nothing about science is more. So they will repeat the process, test their hypothesis. Is this working? Collect data, analyze it, and if it's not validated, then you need to reform a new hypothesis. So this is good. That's essentially what got us here tonight, is they looked at what they had and said, we need a new hypothesis. This is it. Let's go.
Any other questions for our science, Caitlin and Wendy, our science gurus this evening? Excellent. Well, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate your time, of course.
And there's other science colleagues in the
Yes,
audience.
and the other science colleagues in the room as well. Thank you for being here as well, of course. Okay, Drew.
All right, well, yes, thank you so much for being here. I'd now like to welcome Kelsey Wise and Melissa Dalton, who will be sharing with you some updates we have to our 612 world language. So welcome and thanks for being here.
Thank you. We too are looking at a new curriculum adoption for 712 Spanish.
So, just an overview of our existing Spanish.
It was just zoomed in really big.
Good evening. Thanks for having us, and we appreciate being here, as do all of our teachers we're representing tonight. An overview of our Spanish department. We are a group of 6 teachers, and we teach at 4 different schools. 3 of the teachers are at the high school. 3 of the teachers are at the 3 different middle schools. It's important to understand that when the students might start Spanish 1, they could be a 12-year-old, or they could be an 18-year-old. So there is a big span in development there. So it's important to be mindful in this process of that. We have a proficiency-based program. And this proficiency-based program incorporates using a real-world context to make sure that the students learn in a practical way. And we focus on skills of listening, reading, writing, and finally speaking. We definitely, as a department, are committed to the fact that we appreciate proficiency over perfection and have realistic goals for our students going into various career paths.
So when I started here in 2017, we have been using solely teacher-created materials. I think the last materials adoption was in 2010, so obviously that's quite some time. It's important that we are aligned, since Spanish 1 and 2 are taught for high school credit at all 4 buildings. It's really important that we are teaching the same thing, have the same rigor, have the same expectations for students. It was also very important to us at the high school teaching Spanish 3 that every student that came from all 4 buildings had a similar experience. That proficiency over perfection, the real world materials, the authentic resources, that was a big push for the whole department, and so it was important that they had that. But with it being a teacher-created materials, it was oftentimes difficult to make sure that everybody had the same, solid base at all 4 different buildings, especially for the middle school teachers that are kind of on their own island. They can't go across the hall and ask a question like we can at the high school. We also we're running into some potential gaps with scheduling at the high school. Students can take, 8 or 9 months off. And so it was a lot of spending time reviewing at the beginning of each new level, because that's a long time when you're not practicing a language every day to remember all that. So we were struggling with how to better scaffold the material, revisit topics more frequently, and things like that. And then this year is the first year since I've been in Lake Orion that we have had AP Spanish run. It's starting next week, so we're very excited about that. And so it was important that we start integrating AP-style questions and activities and some of those concepts throughout all levels.
Kelsey, can you talk into the mic it's for the TV they're
sorry.
singing.
Yes, but now it's going over to Melissa.
That's okay.
Next time.
Oh, no, it's not, it's May still. So we started it into a pilot. So we collaborated with Jen Howe at Oakland Schools, which was even better for us because she's a former Lake Orion teacher, so she really understood our needs and our goals as a department. We also met a lot with the Oxford High School and Middle School Spanish teachers to really get their experience too. They were also piloting, so they had a lot of experience with other resources, and they also have some similar goals with the proficiency-based and authentic resources. So it was a really good pairing to kind of hear their experiences because they were piloting before we started piloting, so they gave us some tips about like which ones to avoid or which ones to look into and that kind of stuff. We narrowed down our search to Clet's Reportero series and Carnegie Learning's Que Chévere series, and then we compared both of those to our teacher-created materials. Last school year, we piloted both. We piloted Reporteros during first semester, and then Que Chévere second semester. All Spanish teachers participated in the pilot, no matter their level. It was kind of pick and choose where it made sense, like pick and choose from their curriculums what units match our curriculum. So we could still see how it was taught, see the resources in action, but we did not fully adopt any new like scope and sequence until this school year. So at the conclusion of the pilot, we chose Carnegie Learning's Que Chévere series. It ranked high on all of our instructional material scoring rubrics and outweighed Reporteros and fit in better with our goals.
So some of the highlights of Que Chévere that we have cited are that the Que Chévere series fulfills all of the content standards for the state of Michigan World Language Benchmarks and content standards. The American Council of Teaching a Foreign Language national standards are met through this series, and the AP College Board guidelines and standards are also met. Some highlights also include that this series incorporates authentic resources in a multiple of different modalities, whether it be audio, video, interpersonal speaking. There's a lot that is authentic in this. It does feature a spiraling curriculum so that topics are not just hit once, but reintegrated into each subsequent unit, which is very important for language acquisition. And then in addition to that, there are a lot of problem-solving scenarios, and for our students, that's great because it teaches them to see things in a very realistic way and to react spontaneously to situations, which is necessary to level up in languages. One of the features that we also really appreciate is that the platform itself is constantly being updated, and we get feedback from the publisher saying, what did you think about this? How does your staff feel about that? And many members of our teaching staff have suggested things that frankly didn't dawn on them, and they've made the change, so they're very responsive and want to do better. That's it.
So if we think back to our needs and why we really were looking into this pilot, the materials are updated and will continue to be updated on the online platform. It helps us all stay aligned, similar types of resources, similar actual resources in terms of some of the activities and authentic resources that we're using. The spiral curriculum really helps with retention, seeing concepts over several times or over several levels really would help with that 6 or 8 month break that some students experience at the high school. And then the online platform does have a lot of AP style. One of the hardest things for AP is the simulated conversation that it has, and that they start those activities even in level 1. So even when they know, like, hi, what's your name, where do you live, they're doing a simulated conversation. So some of those, like, test-taking skills that are important to have, those are integrated early, plus the actual concepts and vocabulary and actual Spanish of it. But we also like that it incorporates some of those test-taking skills from the first unit in Spanish 1. So they'll be even more prepared. So we can see here, these are our teachers. They have been a part of this process the whole time. They have talked to the Carnegie Learning people, so they feel very involved with choosing this and using this with their students.
Some of the things that they noticed are the wealth of resources. So each teacher can go in and select a wide variety, a wide range of things to meet their personality and their personal experiences. Many of our teachers have had overseas study experiences in different countries or have different backgrounds, and this allows them the flexibility to really leverage those specializations that they have. The teachers say that it's engaging, that they see more focus from their students, that their students are able to visually see what the targets are and to be able to feel empowered to participate at a greater extent. Multiple tries are available, and that's very important for our students who have that as accommodations for a necessity for learning. Just a universal sign in general is great. So student testimonials. Just to summarize these, a lot of the students express that they have specific career goals, and so this series will tap into those. They break down concepts in an easy manner to comprehend, which is very important if you're a student who goes home and your parents have not had Spanish class. And then in addition to that, I really personally like the comment that Profe makes it fun. Teachers are putting a lot of time into connecting with their students. And being there face-to-face is so important that this series, this resource, which is online, allows them to not have to go out searching so much for content so they can 100% be there for their students and make that experience enjoyable and bring that energy.
Yeah. And with that same thing, it brings in a lot more culture because, as Melissa pointed out, like, we have experiences on study abroad or within our own lives, and so we tend to just fall back on that experience, where this allows for a lot of different voices and a lot of different perspectives from all 21 Spanish-speaking countries in the world, plus the United States, where there's a large Spanish-speaking population. So all of that is incorporated seamlessly throughout the curriculum, and it takes the load off the teacher to go find that updated cultural aspect too. So our plan for implementation this year, we continued with a free pilot for Spanish 1. So before, where we were kind of taking the units that made sense for our scope and sequence, This year, we fully adopted their scope and sequence for level 1 only, and that was in all 4 buildings. And then next week, when AP Spanish begins, she is using a lot of those resources, although it's not quite the same like scope and sequence as Spanish 1, just with it being AP, but she is using a lot of the resources. Next school year, we will continue with Spanish 1 and then also implement for Spanish 2. We realized that we can't roll this out to the whole department. We do have to take it level by level because students wouldn't be used to it, or the scope and sequence is different. And so we didn't want to have to play a game of like, did you already learn this? Did you not? And so we're just using this as like year by year. So the following year, we'll continue with Spanish 1 and 2, implement in Spanish 3. And then in the following years, we believe we can do 4 and 5 in the same time because we are making some changes in those upper levels anyway. So then we'll continue through that. It is a 5-year purchase agreement or contract, but then we did get that year for free this year. So it's really 6 years of implementation, paying for 5. And this would be for all Spanish students, 7-12. It's not just the high school. And it is for digital resources only, which we don't feel like we need the print materials. So it's, and those stay updated, so we need that. Carnegie Learning also provides us with professional development, 1 full day. This is included in that cost, and then some on the fly virtual training that they could do at any time, up to 5 hours. And then, of course, this is what has been our focus and will continue to be our focus for professional development on our Wednesday mornings and when we're together as a full group in August and January, and then with your half days as well. And here are just a few examples of some of the activities. I know they're kind of small right now, but here are some of the pre-AP activities that are very similar to the type of activities that you would get on the AP test. And so all these activities that I'm showing you today are from Spanish 1. So you can see even in Spanish 1, there's a lot of Spanish. It's a lot of like overall comprehension versus understanding every single word, which is a big push for our department too. Here are a lot of authentic resources. So a little excerpt from a museum in Mexico and a video. All of those come with questions and different activities to do, pre-reading, post-reading, all of those connections. A lot of cultural resources, both in English and in Spanish. So this Costa Rica article was taken from within a unit, but then separate from each unit, there are what they call passport library, which are tours of different Spanish-speaking cities. Videos, news, the current events are really nice because they are up to date, and then songs. So using a lot of, songs are great because they have a lot of repetition and they're fun. So, but to have those kind of included already that we can go to there are more resources on this platform than we know what to do with. So we are really looking through all of these things, and it's taking a lot of that off our plate to have to go search and find, and I think that's it. Oh wait, no, there's a lot of communicative activities, which is a big push for us. Obviously, the whole reason of learning a second language is to be able to communicate. So even starting in level 1, there's a lot of back and forth communicative activities, both interpersonal, presentational, too. And that, I think, is it.
Thank you. Questions for Susan?
You said a couple times that this is curriculum for 7 to 12. Are we not going to offer Spanish to the 6th grade classes then?
We don't currently.
I know we don't, but are we going to look at expanding that to 6th grade?
Right now, we've looked at just keeping it as 7-12 with the focus of getting everything consistent from 7-12. And then that would be something as we continue to look at our middle school of every couple of years when we look at different electives, the possibility of maybe there is an opportunity, it's something we'd like to look at 6th grade, but right now it would just be for 7-12.
Others? Jake?
Follow up on that a little bit. A couple of years ago, when I was on curriculum committee, the discussion was around the rigor, and you talked a lot about how this needs to be the same Spanish 1 and Spanish 2, whether they're 7th and 8th graders. So is any concerns about the rigor for a seventh or eighth grader? Because we're giving them high school credit. We need them taking the same class as they would get if they waited till they were in grade 9 through 12. So how does the rigor of this course, the one that you've piloted for Spanish 1, compare to the Spanish 1 that we had before? And I guess, Melissa, you're a middle school teacher, so you'd have a little more experience with how the students are dealing with this class versus the one they used to have.
As far as the rigor goes in this program, we really haven't had any concerns regarding that because the way it is presented to the students, it follows very much in line with there is input, the students see an article or they see a short video clip which presents the structure and the vocabulary which they're learning. This program supports much better what the students are doing because in all phases of it, it's a uniform vocabulary. And it's also isolating certain high-frequency structures. So whereas before in our previous teacher-made curriculum, we might have one teacher selecting one article and one video. And of course, we collaborated and shared amongst each other, but you could have something that was maybe excessively long for a student to read or passage. Maybe it wasn't honing in enough so that the students noticed, because it's all an act of noticing. And when your brain notices and you see the pattern, it's about recognizing patterns. So when students do that, and every single angle they're getting it from, whether it be an auditory angle, whether they are being reading something visually, that's all going in their mind and they're seeing a pattern. And with this, it's curated. So it's been edited, and so there have been so many eyes on it to make sure that that aligns, that it's something that we just frankly never had in our school day time to be able to do. The only growing pains I would say that we have had with the students perhaps is the fact that you can see who's done everything, and there's a running tally of what percentage was completed, and it's so instantaneous. And then in addition to that, you can see how many they had right and wrong. And so it does kind of make you feel like Oz a bit, where you could be like, wait, hold on, you only viewed that, and we're gonna go back. And so then we can bring it in a whole class scenario. If we notice there's misunderstandings, of course, as a teacher, being mindful of that and picking up on those cues, we would, just today I put something on the whole big smart board and we paused every single thing. So we middle school teachers do have to slow down when we notice those gaps. That's my answer.
But you're getting them to the same spot, because that was the concern a few years ago, was when they were hitting Spanish 3, there was some notice between where did they have their Spanish 2.
Yes, and I think part of that was with the lack of consistency with the resources being used, because now at least it's the same reading, for example. And with our freshmen, we might be able to do that reading in 20 minutes and be like, okay, we did it, done. Where it might take a 7th grade 45 minutes with some other scaffolds, but at least we know they got the same reading done. Where before it was all, a little bit more teacher discretion, and so depending on what you were finding, could be way too difficult for a 7th grader, but it was okay for a sophomore, or vice versa. So it just provides a lot more consistency. The program itself does provide a lot of differentiated activities. So even then you also have activities for your heritage speakers who speak Spanish at home but are looking to, so it provides a lot of that kind of scaffolding for us that makes it so that the same resource could be used 7-12, where before it was a little bit more of, well, that's too hard for 7th graders, I'm not using it, where now it's more integrated. That helps.
This program also incorporates more verb forms earlier on. And I was a bit skeptical at first, thinking, are they gonna be able to handle all of this? But in fact, they've handled it quite well, surprisingly, and middle school students are very adaptable and very open-minded to jumping into things. And maybe to a sense, sometimes we teachers are like thinking that we have to bring them along when they can, actually take on a lot more,
So Kelsey, did I understand you correctly that you are harmonizing then Spanish 1, regardless if you're at the middle school or the high school, wherever you decide to take Spanish 1, it will be the same class no matter what school you're in at Lake Orion? And it could just take a little bit longer for the middle school to complete the same reading?
I mean, it could. When you say the same class, it's always been the same scope and sequence, the same units, but it's more the day-to-day resources. Now, we've never been, nor will we be, a department that's like, okay, we did page 12 yesterday, today's page 13. Like, we like to use a lot more teacher discretion than that and make this class a lot more individualized towards the students. But what I'm saying is that some of those resources will be staples and will be the same. Where before it was like, okay, you're teaching a lesson about the house. I might have 4 different readings, and Melissa might have 4 totally different readings. And now it might be like, okay, we have the same 4 readings, but how we teach them might be slightly different depending on our age level.
Thanks for the clarification.
Other questions? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, just smack me. You're right next to me. Smack me.
Thank you for being here tonight, ladies. I appreciate all you're doing for our students within Spanish, and I was curious to ask you about the digital resources, which sound pretty amazing, quite frankly. And I heard you say, or I read it, that the digital resources are for teachers. Are there resources also online for the students?
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
We should have made that more clear. Yes, they have access to not only their current year, but all previous years too. So that also helps with the retention, because if they have taken it 9 months off, they can be like, I know we did this, but like where, and they can flip back and look at all their resources. There's also a lot of online activities that they can complete on there and get their instant feedback and that kind of stuff too, when the teacher assigns it. So
And
yes.
the platform reads, there is a textbook embedded in there, and so they can go specifically teach in it and have access to that.
That's pretty amazing.
And a lot of like extra activities, videos. If it's like, I'm still confused on this, you can watch the video and get some extra help too. So yes,
There's a
sorry for not
speaking
including
interface
that.
called iChat, and it will send them questions, and then it reacts to them and rates how their answers are. It's really cool.
So is there like a communicative AI embedded with it? That's pretty amazing.
And it's in, as at tech stuff, it's embedding a lot of AI literacy, because in that, especially, like if they pronounce it incorrectly, it'll mark it wrong, and they're like, well, I said that. And it's like, yes, it's AI. Sometimes it makes mistakes. Like you have to, and so there's a lot of those conversations too, which I love, but.
Duolingo does that to me, and it always gets me. I'm like, I said that. Yeah, so my last question then is, you alluded to professional development that's provided for your staff, for the Spanish staff. Is that flexible then? You've got the program for the next 5 years as it's being.
Yes, and they have been, even with the pilot, they have been extremely responsive. So even when I've been like, I have a couple of questions, they're like, when can you jump on a call? Like they seem very happy to work with us and with our schedule.
And you're not locked into 5, like say your staff changes in the next 5 years, which might happen. As you acquire new staff, it's a given, everybody can have professional development in it. Awesome. Good.
I just have 2 words to say, muy bien.
Perfect, thank you.
Good job, Jeffrey.
All right. Thank you so much for being here, of course. That's here. I love it.
Muy bien.
Muy, muy.
Yeah.
Too. Very, very. Okay.
Gracias.
And thank you for braving, of course, the weather to be here.
thank you.
So
Drive
we
safe,
appreciate
guys.
that. Drive safe on your way home. Okay, next up is public participation related to action items on the agenda. We have none. Just for clarification, for people who have not been here, we actually have 2 different public participation opportunities on the agenda. Anything we're voting on tonight, that would be now. But we do not have anyone signed up for that. So the next public participation, which we do have people signed up for, as you will see, is toward the end of our agenda. So we're not forgetting about you. I just wanted to let you know that we do have two different opportunities. Okay. And that moves us to strategic area discussion items, governance with Heidi.
Okay, so legislatively, quite a few things being proposed at this point in time. In the House, Speaker Matt Hall said that he plans to unveil a modern Proposal A in 2026 that would cut property taxes and give voters two options for replacing the lost revenue. Hall described the plan as revenue neutral, suggesting one alternative could involve changes to the sales tax while emphasizing that school and local government funding would be protected. So any ballot proposal on this one would require bipartisan support in the Democratic-controlled Senate and approval from Governor Whitmer. So more to come on that. We also have House Bill 4922, which is regarding librarian requirements. The bill is on the final passage on the House floor. It would prevent districts or MDE from requiring additional endorsements for school librarians beyond a teaching certificate. Also, mandated reporter bills, House Bill 4530 and 5220. The bills were reported from the House Families and Veterans Committee. They would create standardized DHHS developed training for mandatory reporters of child abuse or neglect. This would have to be completed every 3 years, and adjust the deadlines for mental health professionals to share records needed in child protection investigations. Also in the House, partisan school board requirement. This has been something that I know that we have discussed before. The bill was reported to the House floor by the House Election Integrity Committee, and it would require partisan affiliation for school board candidates. So that is still out there. We also have medically necessary treatment, House Bill 5044. The House Education Committee held another hearing on this bill. And the bill would require local policies that allow students to receive medically necessary treatments at school with prescriptions, recommendations, or orders from private healthcare specialists. There also is a House bill for cash for admission to sports. This bill was reported by the House Education Committee. This bill would require middle and high school schools that charge admission for interscholastic athletic events to accept cash as a payment. Excused absences for agricultural events, House Bill 4665. This bill passed the House 101 to 4. The bill would require excused absences for participation in FFA, 4-H, or other approved agricultural events under certain conditions. This one is now in the Senate Education Committee. The Senate, they have Senate Bill 433, THC and vaping products, information for parents. This bill would require DHHS and MDE to create and update a multilingual fact sheet on the risk of tobacco, vaping, THC, and synthetic hemp. With district and non-public schools, we would be required to share it with parents annually and post the link on our website. This bill was reported by Senate Education and is awaiting action on the Senate floor. There also is a behavioral threat assessment bill. The Senate Education Committee held a hearing on these bills, which would create and fund a statewide behavioral threat assessment and management system requiring all public and non-public schools to use a state-run platform for case documentation, data sharing, training, and annual reporting. And the last one that I have here this evening is work readiness assessment. The governor did sign 2 bills which passed the Senate and would amend Michigan merit exam law and allow parents to opt their students out of the work keys style workforce readiness test using a state waiver while keeping current transcript timing and reporting rules. That is what I have this evening. And then Birgit, I think you have a few updates as well.
I do, and I want to just run off of what you did a great job, Heidi. There's a lot going there. And to remind people that the legislature is now back to work this week. And that HB 4588 is on the floor. I know I sent an email with a letter to Donnie Steele. I'd encourage you guys to let your voices be heard about that partisan school elections. And also just an interesting sidebar onto, Heidi touched on HB 5044, which is the medical possibility for students to have I'm not even doing a bad job, medically prescribed things at school. The intent of that legislation was for ABA therapy to be provided at a school, and that's for autism spectrum. The way it was written is so poor, it's like if somebody wanted chemo at school, they could get chemo at school. So we're really hoping they come back to the board, and the table, I should say, and rewrite that because it's very poorly written. And I also wanted to let you know that the government funding deadline is coming right up on January 30th. That's the federal level, and if they don't have something in place by then, there will be another temporary shutdown. We're likely to see another CRC, but that backs right into NSBA's Advocacy and Equity Conference. I'm not going this year, but it's coming right up. It's the 1st through the 3rd. And they're excited because if it is shut down, they get access to a lot more people when they go up there. So we'll see what happens with that. But last week we had a GRC committee meeting for OCSBA, and we had guest speakers, Jacqueline Mullen, who's a senior fiscal analyst for the House Fiscal Agency, and her colleague, Noelle Benson. And it was such a great presentation, and I had Julie email you guys the attachments to it. I'd really encourage you to look at that presentation. It's a great resource. I'd download it and keep it if I were you somewhere because it's a great review. They provide a confidential, what they do in the House Fiscal Agency is provide confidential nonpartisan expertise to the House Appropriations Committee and all other members of the House on all legislative fiscal matters. The analysts review the governor's budget and assist legislators in developing budget alternatives, review and prepare budget bills, supplemental appropriations, and certain transfer requests, and also provide fiscal impact statements on legislative proposals. The school aid budget pays for the operations of public schools to maintain and support a system of free public elementary and secondary schools as defined by law as required by the Michigan Constitution. The school aid budget makes appropriations to 537 local school districts, 286 public school academies, and 56 intermediate school districts, and certain other operations and categorical programs. But did you know it also provides funds to the Michigan Department of Lifelong Education Advancement, otherwise known as MyLEAP, and the Center for Educational Performance and Information, or CEPI, and other entities to implement certain grants and other programs related to K-12 education. However, the School Aid Fund, or the SAF, is a fund source, and sometimes people mix it up with the school aid budget. The school aid budget takes the majority of the school aid funds available, about 93% of it, and I thought that was really good basis information for people to have. And I think that, Justin, I don't know if you're interested or not, but there's going to be 20 people from 20 of our colleagues in the county that will be going to DC and 3 superintendents. And I look forward to hearing about that from them. And that concludes my update.
Thank you. Maybe this is for Birgit or Heidi. If the bill regarding the partisan elections goes through, would that impact elections beginning this year, potentially? Or do we?
That's a great question. I don't know.
I haven't seen anything when it would start. I would.
It's dated to start this year, but
Okay.
there's a lot of speculation that it won't.
They're not going to
in
go
the
fast
Senate.
enough.
The Senate won't approve the bill. Like, the House will hand it over to the old, I'm a bill on Capitol Hill. The Senate is, exactly.
It's got to go all the way through, and it's
The
got
Senate,
slow.
the Senate has shown little interest in taking up that bill.
Right, okay. I was just curious on that. Any other questions on the legislative update before we move on?
Okay, regarding the 2018 bond update, the LOCS gym at the high school will be opening at the end of this month. So we are closing in on that. Mr. Tollerton and I, and Mark was there as well. did take our student advisory group this morning for a sneak peek, and so it is looking awesome. So we're excited about that. And then also in regard to the 2018 bond, we are continuing to take a look at CERC and preparing for that next phase of work as we start approaching February and spring with our summer projects, of course. So that is what I have for that. I also want to point out, when you guys get to the policy committee report, that there was one change in section, no, it's 2260.01. Section 504, we had in there that it was Andrea and Adam. It should be Sarah. So that is reflected. That is the only change, but I wanted to point that out. So, thank you.
And then obviously on the policy committee report, these are the second readings for the updates to these particular, and with exception of the one Heidi mentioned, everything else would have been the
So
same.
that's the question, do we need to put that one off for another meeting, because does that change, convert that back to this as a first reading?
No, because it was just a contact that,
It's just the
I don't know
name.
that it
It's
was
just the
even
name.
named before, was it?
It was named, but that's actually considered a technical change, which legally doesn't even require board approval.
That's what I'm looking for, Julie.
Thank you, Mrs. Oakley.
That was the
Julie.
answer.
Okay, so is there any questions regarding any of the policies that we will be approving or voting upon later? Excellent, okay. Thank you. And then lastly, on governance, we do have a FOIA appeal. Is Julie going to speak to that?
Yes, Julie is our coordinator.
My favorite role.
Yes.
Okay, so as a summary, we did receive a FOIA request from a parent back in December, and an extension was initially filed, as the request was quite extensive. There were 19 separate items listed in the request, inclusive of an email or communication search, which would include email, a lot of technology involved in that, for 5 different employee communications with, I believe there were 17 search terms. So that does require a lot of extensive time. Also, due to the move of our administration building and the holiday schedule with people taking leave and vacations at different times, availability of staff also becomes an issue. So an extension was filed. We replied in January by the extension deadline with an estimate. Summary of the estimate is overall the cost was $445. That included 2 hours of tech director time, 2 hours of Mr. Tollerton's time, and an hour and 15 minutes of my time for review and redaction. This is an estimate, it's not an actual fee. Anytime a fee exceeds $50, we usually require or provide an estimate, a good faith estimate, because we would assess a deposit to be submitted against that fee of 50% deposit before we actually start the work and incur expenses. So the requester is appealing that estimate on several cases. Mostly it seems that they seem to be confused that there was no additional breakdown of tasks, descriptions provided for locating, retrieving, redacting, reviewing records, which we don't really give more explanation of what that entails. It seems pretty self-evident, searching for records, redacting, reviewing. I'm not sure what additional breakdown they would be expecting. The template and form that we use was provided by MASB. It's used very widely across the state by many districts. It was developed by their legal team to make sure it is in compliance with how we estimate fees. We follow that to a T. But I think because there were, in the response, there was information giving that records were identified, because we do know that some exist. They think that the search was already done, and they were expecting us to list the number of records located and the number of pages it entailed and all of that, which wouldn't be known at this point until the search is completed. So on that case, I would not recommend approving an appeal on those bases. In addition, I did have an error in the form that was submitted with the estimate. I used a form that I had previously used for another case, and there was a name listed for contracting a firm. I forgot to erase that, so I will explain that to the requester. There was some confusion about why we would need to contract outside services to fulfill this request, and we will not. So I will provide that clarification that it is all internal staff members. The rate of staff members was questioned, and again, under FOIA procedures, we are only able to charge the fee for the person, the lowest paid person that's capable of doing the work. In this case, it is Mr. Tollerton, Craig Schoen, our Director of Technology, Scone, I'm sorry, and myself as the FOIA coordinator because I'm trained for reviewing and redacting under all of the FOIA procedures. So those are our rates listed. And I think that is really, it addresses all of their concerns. So in my opinion, I don't believe the appeal has a lot of validity, and I would request that you uphold the estimate provided, but of course you can discuss and advise us what your decision is in the action item at the end of the meeting.
Thank you, Julie. Questions?
This doesn't prohibit her from, or the person from essentially still accepting it and saying that they're okay with the cost and moving forward with it, correct?
Correct, and also, it's always, because it is an estimate, they would be required to deposit 50%. Once we do the work, if it's different than the estimate provided, they are assessed what the actual charge is. It could be less, it could be more. If it's less and they paid more than what the total charge is for the deposit, they would be refunded the difference. They're not out the money. But, you know, we have no way to really know, so the best we can do is give them an estimate up front.
Fair.
And in my opinion, with the email searches, those can be quite extensive, especially when you get into multiple keyword searches. I was very conservative in the time that I allotted in the estimate. It could be much higher.
That's where I'd go. I was more concerned that the estimate was too low, and that was my question in this case where you estimated $440, approximately they would deposit $220. If we came back and the actual work taken pushed it to a much higher number, then they could say, well, I didn't know it was going to cost me $1,500. I thought it was $440. Are they out their deposit because we started, because we did that work? But they put, if we had told them it was gonna be $1,500, they might not have deposited $750. They'd say, I don't want it. So what happens if it?
A number of things. We could provide them a certain number of records to fulfill up to that amount and then stop any additional search.
That if we get into the work and it's starting to exceed the hours, you're gonna contact the person. Before we spend all those hours, you're like, you've hit what we thought we could get you for that price. Do you want us to keep going? Your new estimate is?
Correct.
Okay.
Just following on to Heather's question, there's also nothing stopping individual to file another request with perhaps less search terms, because I think what you were alluding to was the broadness of this search is driving the cost.
Yes.
And I would just like clarification on the point of the FOIA appeal. It's against the fee, but they don't want to pay any fee, or they just think it's too high? Can you clarify for me?
I don't know that she actually specified whether she was looking for a reduction or a waiver. She just said she was appealing the fee.
Yeah, the lack of task level description, I got her email. But that is our task level description that we give, as Julie said. And then the hourly rate justification, and why can't you use someone less expensive to do this? Because they're not trained.
Yeah, when you get into email searches, there's a lot of sensitive information that can be brought up, and, you know, somebody that's not trained in understanding what's confidential for our district, especially when they're looking for the types of items that she is, can be a real slippery slope, so I wouldn't trust it with anybody that's not trained.
Other questions on the FOIA appeal? Okay. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
Just to clarify, is this something that we will vote, that the appeal comes and we will vote yes or no as to approve the appeal? That's the action item at the end?
Yes, there's an action item, number 10, that was added, and a revised packet sent to you on Monday.
Oh, so we can make, I just pulled it up, we can make the motion to approve.
Yes, there's an option for you to pick approval or denial.
We might want to move, do we want to discuss that now so that we know which motion to make? I'm fine with
will be a
denying, I'm
denial.
fine with denying the request.
Correct.
Yes.
I don't see another option.
Right.
So we'll make the motion
To deny.
to deny.
Correct.
So that we-
Thank you. And that brings us to student achievement. Assistant Superintendent update.
All right, thank you. The only update I have this evening is to bring before you for approval the previous courses that were presented, which are our senior level ELA courses. So my other updates are from the staff that was here tonight. So,
Excellent, thank you. And yes, Kelly Day joined us at our last meeting and presented those, and we will be voting on those later this evening. We also have the curriculum committee report, which I have. If you want to do it, or I can hand it to you. Are you sure? I was going to say I printed it. You actually saw the curriculum committee presentation that we received. Wendy Burns joined us and pretty much, you know, did a similar presentation overview of what you would be seeing tonight. And then the other item that we is the continuation of the discussion of the elementary ELA pilot update. Kate DeMio joined us, and she was able to bring, Kate and Carrie, I should say, was able to bring data from, you know, teachers now that they've pretty much had, what, four months worth of the CKLA Amplify curriculum, and just an update on they did a survey, and we actually received those survey results, and it was very positive, actually. The teachers that have been part of the pilot had a lot of positives to say about that. We actually also got a QR code to scan from Carly Riddle, yep, and any of us would be happy to share it with you. And she did a video she spoke, her student spoke, she went through her classroom, showed different elements of the curriculum and how it's used, so it was very cool, and it was very cool to see, because when we're sitting in curriculum committee, although people come and speak to us, it's always cool to see, like, classroom, like, engagement with it. And once again, the students were, what impressed me most, and I'm gonna have you guys all scan the QR code, was the students knew, like, what it was called. It wasn't just like, oh, we read this one book. It was amazing. You know, it was, I really like the mythology unit, and we did this. And it was actually very, very cool to watch how much they knew about the actual curriculum. So that was very cool. And then the plan is to bring it to a presentation to the board after the middle of the year assessment, so we can be able to see the beginning of the year versus middle of the year growth between the pilot classrooms and, I'm assuming, the non-pilot classrooms, correct? Did I miss anything?
You'll be able to do like that cohort of the pilot kids and then,
that's our plan, is that we'll be able to, knowing it's a little bit of a smaller window, but that's our plan to bring that forward to the board.
Did I miss anything?
Nope.
Okay.
I did bring, for anyone who's interested, the QR code and also the evaluation tool results from the teachers that are piloting. So after the meeting, I'm happy to share this with any of our colleagues that aren't on the curriculum committee.
I'm assuming that would all be presented to us in the future.
Yes.
maybe in the packet.
Right, yep. I'm
Yeah.
assuming Carly's video would be shared with the entire board at some point, but like I said, very cool to see.
Yes, we'd like to see it ahead of time, though.
Yes.
All right, so. All right, with that, Human Resources, Adam.
Thank you, Danielle. To begin, I'd like to recommend for hire the certified staff members as listed in your board packet. And then we move on to our schools of choice for 26, 27. So I'm going to follow the same format that I did with my enrollment presentation in the fall. So within your board packets, if you're not up to speed, we're on page 238. So it'll take a few clicks to get there if you're not there. You have the information in your board packets, and then I'll reference that information and data throughout the presentation. But on display here for our audience, both at home and within the building, it's just high-level summaries of each slide, so they're not stuck trying to interpret data with that. I want to give a reminder tonight before I start that we're talking about head count numbers, not FTEs. Thank you, Julie. FTEs are what we build our budget on. It's what our funding is based upon. So I wanted to make that distinction that I'm only presenting actual headcount numbers tonight. And the headcount numbers do not include our shared services program, which, as we've talked about before, it has a positive impact on our budget, but does not impact our building populations in Lake Orion. As a reminder as well, these are snapshots of our attendance and class numbers. The date that we're looking at is December 15th, 2025. If we were running our SOC lottery today, this is the information that I would be looking at with our central enrollment department to determine availability per grade level in building. So numbers are fluid throughout the year, sometimes within the week, and that fluidity impacts percentages and numbers. So on page 238, you see our elementary class sections. This spreadsheet we've seen in the past shows our elementary numbers by grade level as of 12/15. We have our desired class numbers. We have our contract max numbers per classroom based on our current collective bargaining agreement with the LOEA, the sections that we need, and our actual sections. In the last column, the class size column, you'll see three different colors. Green means we are good, yellow means that we are within one student of reaching the contract max, and red means that we are in an overload in that grade level in one or more of the classrooms. Oh, there we go, thank you. We currently have only 4 grade levels in an overload situation, one at Weber, one at Paint Creek, one at Orion Oaks, and one at Blanche Sims. Very similar and consistent with what I presented in the fall based on our fall count numbers. And as a reminder, when the classrooms are in an overload situation, we do offer and provide additional supports. At the elementary level, the most common form of support is additional adults within the classroom for certain levels of time, depending on the amount of the overload. Of the 116 elementary classroom sections, only 7 classrooms, or about 6%, are in an overload situation as of 12/15. And then our class size averages, as you'll see, are very healthy in terms of balancing efficiency and lower numbers at the elementary. Any questions on that slide? Next slide, page 239 in your board packet. It takes a deeper dive into our elementary school enrollment. Again, you've seen this page before. Breaks down numbers for our resident, SOC, and employee children at each grade level per building as of 12/15. Resident enrollment at kindergarten, it fluctuates a lot on an annual basis per building. And we look at, the information we have at the time of the lottery to the start of, or it fluctuates a lot from the information we have at the time of the lottery to the start of the next school year. Based on trends that we follow at each building and data that we have from registration, we take this into account when we're conducting the lottery for kindergarten students. At the end of the day, for kindergarten, it's informed, but it is an educated guess each year when we're doing our school of choice with where the population's going to end up. So there can be instances where our resident numbers are lower or higher than anticipated, which ultimately does impact those SOC percentages in kindergarten. Typically, we offer around 40 to 50 kindergarten SOC students annually. Not all enroll. Some reconsider, may not get the building they wanted, so it may be a geographical thing. They just may choose not to follow through with registration and stay in their home district, et cetera. But ultimately, our goal is to get around 40 students in kindergarten enrolled through the Schools of Choice program. As we look at that bottom section a little bit closer, this represents the SOC percentages per building and grade level. Each grade level is at or below 10% of their total population being SOC. Overall, we're at 9.3% for the district at the elementary level, all very healthy and good and where we want to be. In the individual building grade levels, you will see some higher pockets. Reminder that, as we've discussed in the past, one or two resident students moving can have a major impact on those percentages. So all of that goes into play when determining SOC availability each spring. And then there are a couple of pockets. Carpenter in particular has some higher SOC percentages. Those are some grade levels that we are still working through, and it was addressed previously with the board with some concerns at those high percentages. But that second through fifth grade group has kind of been cycling through throughout the years as we address those concerns. Are there any questions on that slide?
How are the concerns addressed? If the students are, like, what is that?
We don't offer any more seats.
Okay.
And then if you look at like the current kindergarten and first grade in there, you have 10.14% in kindergarten at Carpenter, so we were very cognizant not to go over that. I think in the past, we were a little aggressive with some of the seats that we offered, and we didn't get as many resident students enroll in that kindergarten group. So all of a sudden it comes in and you're going, all right, well, we offered, 9 students or 10 students in there, but we only had 65 enroll or 70 enroll. So our percentage is higher and we didn't have as many residents enroll as we anticipated or projected. So the main way that we address it, we don't bring in any more SLC students in those grade levels that are red.
But once a school of choice student is at a school, you would never change the school he's at, correct?
We would never want to, right? That has happened in a couple of very extreme cases, not in several years. I think the last time it happened was 2019, 2018, right around that time frame. But obviously that's a disruption, and
Absolutely.
Our mentality when we get a school of choice student in Lake Orion, they are a Lake Orion student. So
I remember Principal Weldon telling me the most difficult calls he had to make that school year.
those were the phone calls,
Families,
yes.
Because, yeah, we try to put them in, the bigger one is when they move to middle school.
Yeah.
You might not go to the middle school. Like if you went to Carpenter, you might not go to Walden.
Yeah.
Because that's not where a space is. So that becomes a difficult decision.
That's where we experience a decent amount of attrition, is because of that, yeah.
So I'm just curious, looking at that what we're all looking at in the red, that it's very interesting to me that Carpenter has the most red of any building, with only actually first grade not being in the red, and DK is 19%. So, and I understand that there can be a couple students move out of district and suddenly the whole flux changes to a percentage. That DK is going to, I'm assuming, because we don't have DK in every building, so those aren't all gonna stay at Carpenter.
Correct.
But these could all change if we get an influx of a few students moving in.
Yes.
So then that gives a fluidity to all of this. But having said that, those are the higher percentages. Is everything okay? Or is the staff okay with, are we?
A couple of years ago, so 2 years ago, I believe that our overall percentage was close to 15% in Carpenter. And that was right around the time, the year before, the spring before, is when there had been a lot of discussion about the SOC numbers at that building in particular, but at all the buildings. And that was when we you guys worked with previous administration to really address that language and those percentages and define what the motion was that you brought forward. Last year we had a dip, but part of that reason is because the fifth grade group that exited out of Carpenter was because they had a high number of resident students, but we didn't want to open up an additional section with SOC kids. Their SOC percentage was somewhere around 7 or 8%, which brought that overall average down. And so the overall building average last year was hovering right around 10%. which was great, but knowing that that smaller bubble was gonna move out, and we still had that 2nd through 5th grade group that we have to cycle through, I knew that it was going to go up, so yes.
I know we had that discussion years ago, where we would end up with an overall district percentage, but our goal was not to have any one building like.
Overloaded.
Overloaded and
Yes.
some other buildings not, so I know that can backfire on us.
Correct.
Another key for this, though, is to always ask, this is a good time to look at attendance areas. So when you look at the different buildings, they're all pretty close, but there are schools that have the 24, 25 elementary schools, and then Sims and Stadium are down in the 22 range, which isn't, if it was down in the teens, then, so is there any sense that any building is trending a certain way, such that we might have to redraw attendance boundaries? Because a certain area, just that school is just not gonna fill up unless we assign more kids to that area?
At this time, no, but it's something that we're always cognizant of. And you have pockets within every building. Blanche Sims is a perfect example this year. You look at the Blanche Sims numbers, their highest group is in kindergarten. It's 21 kids higher than their 5th grade group. It's a pocket, right? Orion Oaks and Paint Creek, we had a couple of kindergarten groups.
Creek's third, the bubble. in the
Yes.
bubble is just
It's huge.
statistically, how did that happen?
Third and 4th grade, they're both over 100.
And then the grade under them has 40 fewer kids?
Yes, it's those trends and those pockets and those bubbles,
That is
so.
no way explainable for many.
I don't think we would ever look at, boundary discussion, or boundaries are always examined, but I don't think we would ever look at changing boundaries unless we had 3 to 5 years of data going, okay, this is something we need to address.
This is just the forum to ask that question
Yes.
every year, and the answer remains, we're comfortable
We're
with
good.
boundaries.
Yeah, we're good. Then as we look at that last page on page 240 in your board packet, this is what, this looks at SOC availability. So this is where we look at what I would look at today if we were running our lottery. These numbers are based on the 12-15 attendance data. I would advance all of the numbers, one grade level, and percentages and attendance data at that time would help determine the location and the availability of spots. The blank spots in certain buildings and grade levels reflects that we would not have any seats available or offered to our SOC students. So if you look at Carpenter, according to this chart, I would have 1 spot of availability. So that is how we address the overages there. So that just is a visual with that. Our lottery, if it is needed, will be held in the spring on April 8th. As we looked at in the fall with our enrollment presentation, we used projections from the county birth rates, capture rates, information from our kindergarten information nights in early March, and registration that's available at the time. And then we also look at past building trends to help determine kindergarten spots. And from the table on the bottom, you'll see just kind of a district snapshot of our current SOC numbers and percentages. You'll see the 3rd, 7th, and 8th grades are just slightly over the 10%, with the highest percentage being 10.27 in 3rd grade as a district. But overall, we're at 9.27 for the district DK-12, which again, I'm very happy with. Like that is, that's maximizing our schools of choice program within the parameters that we establish as a board and as a cabinet. Overall, our SOC students bring a lot to the district in improving the efficiency of the use of our buildings and resources, and have a very positive impact on our budget. And that helps us to allow us to continue to offer our different programming, our options throughout the district at each level. And as a reminder, this is our 13th year as a schools of choice district. So in past years, we've had a lot of thoughtful and lengthy discussions surrounding the language and recommendations for schools of choice, including last year where we adjusted the language surrounding our learning options program. I think we've done a nice job capturing and achieving our goals as a district. So this year, my recommendation is going to remain very similar surrounding schools of choice, with the target SOC enrollment not to exceed 10% of the building population, or the total district enrollment for non-resident students where there is space available K through 8 in the 26-27 school year. And then for Learning Options High School, this will be determined by program circumstances with administrative input for the 26-27 school year. Any questions?
Questions, additional questions? Birgit has a question.
I lost my spot, and now I'm scrolling back.
Oh, are you?
So, on that very last, on page 239, and you have, so you just said, in the wording for the language of our motion, not to exceed 10%, but you were already above 10% at Carpenter, and you're adding one more. We're going against our own verbiage if we approve that?
Well, that right there, the chart at the bottom, that doesn't, the chart on page 240 that we looked
Because you're
at,
still going by district?
we would go by district, but it doesn't necessarily, these are spots that are available. The next step that I take with this is I take these numbers, and I will look at and go, what do our sections look like? Are we expanding sections? Are we bumping levels over the, 10% as a building? This just looks at the individual grade level at Carpenter, that first grade, which was at 9.2%, whatever, 9.27, I believe it was, 9.21. So it looks at that 9.21 and it says, you have one spot available at this grade level at this building. So that is all it looks at. I then look at everything else.
Okay.
One impact that will come is that we will be moving out 12.6% from that fifth grade, which is a high percentage, over the 10%. And in that kindergarten group, I'm gonna do my best to make sure that we stay under 10%. So that overall grade or building percentage should go down again.
So we're gonna look to you to make those decisions on them?
Yeah.
So it's kind of our instruction to you?
Yes.
I wouldn't want to tie them so tightly, because if we have open spots at a particular grade level, at a lower grade level, we want to fill those seats. That's the goal of school of choice. So just because the building is where, like, he's long-term, he's got a plan to get there. But if you keep overloading every grade every year, then we have to look to say, do we need to move more resident students in to that school to balance our populations? And
the other impact that is the reality of the fluidity and the fluctuations, right? If, for example, if we have we have one spot available in first grade, I offer it. We have no attrition from current SOC students, and we have 2 or 3 resident students move out. All of a sudden, that's a fluctuation of or a change of a net 2 students or 1 student to the building, but the population percentage of SOC is gonna go up because you lost, 2 or 3 resident students and you gained an SOC student. So there are some factors that do occur that I don't control, which can cause that fluctuation to go from, well, I was at 9%, I had room for one more, but because I just went up to 12 or 13%, depending on the overall resident population. So that 12%, while it is not below 10%, doesn't bother me. It's when we start to get, because of those small idiosyncrasies that can occur, it's when we get into, oh my gosh, we're at 15%, we're at 16%, because that is a lack of foresight on my end, where I go, no, I have to be able to look at that and make sure that if 1 or 2 students move and I end up at 11, 12%, it's gonna be okay, it's close enough. Just like if we had attrition at school of choice and all of a sudden I'm going, I only have 7% in that grade level and I have room for more students to come in, well, it's because we lost a few that we didn't foresee and we didn't find out until September. And when we offered the wait list at that point, the other parents said, no thank you, we're already enrolled in our resident district. So those fluctuations can happen. It's when we start to get above that that I get, on my end, I go, oh, that's a red flag for me. So
I think what, and maybe, and you can speak for yourself, but I think what she was saying is, are we because it's at 12% at Carpenter, is the motion, is that what you're saying? Are you concerned that we're not?
And there was an additional student, because we're not going to add to a school that's already over 10%. That would be my logic. So I just want to be careful, because this has gotten us in trouble in the past, and that I want to make sure we're doing what we say we're going to do, and we're honoring that process. It has nothing to do about whether or not we're going to have schools of choice students, and whether there's a seat open. It's about what we say we're going to do, and we've run the gamut of this over the years, so I'm just calling attention to what I saw as a problem in my eyes when I'm looking at the numbers and reconciling what we're going to do tonight and what this says.
Yep.
That's all I'm
And
questioning.
that page 240 does not necessarily say that I'm offering one student in first grade at that building. It says that we would have a seat available. So that's the key.
The motion reads that the target SOC enrollment is not to exceed 10% of the building population or the district total enrollment. And that was the flexibility we needed a few years ago, because that's why I brought up, I'm like, we are not, we are in violation.
We're not following
We are
our.
in violation when we said of a building's.
Understood. I lived through it.
So now we're fine.
But I'm allowed to ask questions, and that's what I'm doing
I understand,
tonight.
but I'm trying to say that just because we're adding another student in a building that's overloaded, unless you want to change this motion, it's fine.
It's a question, Jake. It was just a question.
Birgit, the long and short of that, yes, it is constantly monitored, and the factors are controlled to the best of my ability with that. And it's all taken into account to make sure that we are meeting to the best of our ability what we have with our motion.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we did change the wording on that a few years ago, yeah, it is target, so it doesn't, yeah.
Understood. I understand all of that.
Yeah. But I do understand, Birgit, when it says that, it's even just for the public to have that understanding, that there is that verbiage that's there, because for them, they're like, wait a minute, at our 10, it's at 12, so I appreciate both.
Correct.
Yeah.
I will get asked about it, so I'm going to ask you guys. And I want it in record and public that we're having it, so that's where I'm at.
Well, and I do appreciate you asking the question, Birgit. I don't think the public is seeing what we have in our board packet, right? They're seeing this. So what we're looking at is a school where every single grade is red except one. So it's a natural question and a great discussion to have, and something we all need to keep our eyes on. So I appreciate the question. I appreciate the clarification, Jake, from your side around what the actual policy states, though, as well.
Any other school of choice questions on the presentation? All right. Thank you, Adam. Before we move on, does anyone oppose just taking a quick 5 minutes?
Appreciate it.
Okay, so we will recess. Goal is 5 minutes, just anyone that needs to refresh beverages or whatnot, we will return. But goal, I'm going to say 9:05, that gives us 6 minutes, so.
And thank you very much to the people that are
Yes,
here.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
now. Just flipped, we missed our 9:05 deadline, but we will resume the meeting, and we will turn to finance and operations with Andrea.
Thank you very much. So first, under my agenda is the first amendment to the 25-26 budget. This is the first reading. The second reading will be at next board meeting. I will focus on the general fund, however, and highlight a couple things from the other funds, but all funds are included in this budget amendment, which it also includes community service, food service, student activity, debt, all capital projects, and the internal service fund. The amendment contains multiple revenue and expenditure changes that increased the budget surplus by $95,381 to $116,209. The general funds, as well as all the other funds beginning fund balances, have been adjusted to reflect the actual audited ending fund balance as of June 30th, 2025. The budgeted general fund ending fund balance is now $11,939,856. And as we've talked about before, a measure that we use is fund balance as a percentage of expenditures. That is now at 11.1%. And if you were to carve out the 147C1, the pass-through, net effect from the state, we would be looking at a 12% fund balance. A couple of updates to the format and what is included for the general fund amendment I want to make you aware of. So the amendment starts on page 242. The beginning is really just the word portion of what you see in the following schedules. So on page 248 of your packet, you'll see the general fund amendment. You're going to see columns titled Proposed Amendments and Grant and MIPSER's Amendments. This format was provided last year. However, it was only MIPSER's 147C1. Now we are including grants in this column because the net effect on the fund balance is zero. And what that really means is if we didn't have this grant funding, we wouldn't be providing these services or have these expenditures, or we would have to determine if the general fund could absorb those expenses. For example, 31AA funding, which I will talk about in a little bit. Therefore, the proposed amendments column, it really includes the changes that affect fund balance. In the far right column of this page, you'll see the explanations where we also needed to break out so that there's, because of the two columns, one, so for example, under state revenue, you see B1/B2. One represents the proposed amendments column, and the two represents the grants and MIPSER's amendment column. Also, new information added to the presentation on page 251 of your packet. This represents, the schedule represents the same information that is on 248, but the expenses are classified by object instead of function. We do analyze the budget in multiple ways, and in discussion with Finance Committee, the schedule was added to the amendment. It's also a schedule we review in the monthly board financial packages, so it makes sense to include it within the amendment. Now for a little bit more of the meat and potatoes of the amendment. This is what we know as of today, and obviously we still remain tight, as 1% adjustment could make a difference either way. As a reminder, the adopted budget was based on many assumptions on the revenue and expenditure side. This adopted budget is, the amended budget is solidifying what is now in place. So for example, when we prepare the adopted budget, staffing assignments are not set and often salary amounts are not defined at that time. Therefore, percentages of increases or decreases are used in establishing the adopted budget. So now that the year is in motion, where we're at today, the budget is amended based on what we actually know. Our state aid membership number, or the full-time equivalent, FTE, as opposed to the head count, which Adam was just discussing, of our student population increased by 89 from the adopted budget. Overall, though, we did have a decrease of 88 FTE from last year. So I just want to make sure that, that you guys understand that. Overall, we decreased, but according to our budget, we had an additional decrease, which we didn't end up having. The adopted budget assumed a 392 per pupil foundation increase from 9,608 to 10,000. The per pupil foundation allowance came in at 10,050 for an additional 50 per pupil from budget for a total of a 442 increase. This sounds great. However, there's two things to remember and know for those that haven't heard it. Last year, we received a 0 per pupil increase, and as previously discussed at the November meeting, the state also eliminated MIPSR's Section 147A4, which was received last year in lieu of getting a per pupil increase. That amount, so the decrease to the current year revenue, is about $3 million, which ironically, if you divide that based on our current year FTE, is a 442 decrease to the budget. So net effect, 0. We're not actually getting more funding. Also included in the budget, last year we've had retirements. We know some retirements. Right now those are approximately 600,000. The explanations provided on the changes in the budget are the significant amounts. So when you read through those explanations, you'll see dollar amounts listed. If you were to add those dollar amounts up, they are not going to tie specifically to the totals in those two columns. It's just the significant pieces. So the general fund revenue increased by $3.7 million to $107.1 million. The significant change here is in state revenue, totaling $3.5 million. There are several reasons why, as detailed in the explanations. The largest being $1.7 million in state aid foundation, reflective of the increase in the FTE and the $50 per pupil increase. The state grants increased by $2 million, which includes a new state aid section 27L2 educator compensation of $1 million and a literacy support grant of $615,000 for the reading pilot program and implementation. General fund expenditures increased by $3.6 million to $107 million. The significant change here is the addition of expenses which were to be covered under the 31AA Mental Health and Safety Grant, which are now being absorbed into the general fund. This includes the cost of general education social workers, security of our SEC Shield employees, contracted nursing, and threat assessment training costs for staff. The net increase of these is approximately $800,000 to the general fund. $1.9 million of the expenses is directly attributed to the increase in the state grant costs, where the net effect, again, to the fund balance is 0. Other increases relate to updating salary and benefit costs to actual from our original assumptions when we began the budget development in April, May of 2025. So that is a summary of the general fund, and before I move on to a couple of the other funds, do you have any specific questions for the general fund?
Questions? Andrea, you mentioned the 615 and change for is that the ELA?
Yes.
Curriculum pilot?
Yes.
Okay, so we received that money? Even if we don't move forward with it? I guess I want to have an understanding. Okay, so that's just for the pilot and implementation. Wow. Okay, so we still have like 400 and change if we go forward with it then, right?
Correct.
Okay. All righty.
Okay. So the other district funds that I just want to quickly touch on, changes from original budget. The Community Service Fund, you will see the revenue and expenditure budgets have increased by approximately 1.3 million. This is directly related to the GSRP funding. So we increased the number of classrooms from last year from 5 to now 9 this year. Under this funding, we receive approximately 11,600 per student. And with the new classrooms, we also receive 40,000 per new classroom. So and as with the other grants, if you have the revenue, you have the offsetting expense. As you will see on this, we still show a use of fund balance of approximately 342,000. We are anticipating rate increases for next year in ECC tuition and community enrichment classes, along with a review of the indirect costs to get a handle on this. Food service fund revenue increased by 533,000 based on the continuation of free meals. And expenditures increased by 224,000 for capital expenditure purchases to spend down the excess fund balance per state guidelines. So we are continually trying to tick away at that, as well as every other district in the state. The 2024 Bond Capital Projects Fund is completely spent now, so the changes here are reflective of that. The Bond 2026 Series 3B Capital Projects Fund has been added since we know that the final series of the 2018 bond will be sold this spring. So that is a quick summary of the other funds. Any questions? Okay. Next on the agenda, we have the CERC Partial Demo and Site Circulation Bid Award. So in your packet is the approval request. The partial demo of CERC is essentially the gym, along with the site circulation, which is completing the master plan of this area of the campus. So where the road will go from Scripps to Stadium Drive all the way through. Essentially, it's going to go through where the gym is coming down. So it's all part of that master plan. In order to finish the site circulation, we have to demo the gym. So our architect, GMB, and construction manager, Frank Rewald, wrote the bids according to standards and specifications of the district, and they were advertised in the local newspaper, the Sigma website, and the district website. Bids were received on November 26th and December 18th under 2 different bid packages. We are asking for approval and authorization to finalize and execute the 17 contracts listed under both bid package 1 and 2 in the amount of $5,484,866. This is comprised of a base amount of $4,789,787 and allowances and contingencies of $695,079. This project will be paid for out of the 2018 Series 3A and Series 3B bond funds. Any questions?
I think we just clarify, I mean, I think we all know, but so it said, so we talked about a couple other projects, like a temporary secure entry, and those are not included. This is just the demolition and the roadway.
That is correct.
No other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lastly, for Finance and Operations, we have the Finance Committee report. Jake, if you could handle that.
Yeah, so we talked for about an hour and a half of what Andrea summarized there in 10, 15 minutes. And we also talked about the future uses of the sinking fund and what that might look like over the next 7 years.
Any questions for finance? Okay, thank you. That will bring us to our action items. And first, may I please have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the following consent agenda items. Approve payment of the December bills in the amount of $9,550,581.28. Approve minutes from the December 16th regular, special, and closed session, the December 19th curriculum committee, the December 30th, 2025 special, and January 5th, 2026 finance committee meetings. Also approving out-of-state and overnight field trip requests for the LOHS AP Physics to Sandusky, Ohio on May 18th of 2026, for LOHS Thespian Troupe to St. John's, Michigan on February 13th and 14th of 2026, and also Scripps 8th grade to Washington, D.C. on June 14th through the 19th of 2026.
Thank you, Birgit. Is there support?
Support.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. May I please have a motion to approve the policy revisions?
I move to approve revisions to board policies 2210, 2266, 2412, 4162, 5120, 5460, 5517.01, 7540.02, 7541, 8300, 8305, 1422, 1422.02, 1623, 1662, 2260, 2260.01, 3122, 3122.02, 3123, 3362, 4122, 4122.02, 4123, and 4362 as presented.
Thank you. Is there support?
Support.
Thank you.
Any sense that someone wants to go home soon?
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All of the policy revisions have been approved. May I please have a motion to approve the senior composition course?
I move to approve the high school new course request for senior composition as presented.
Thank you. Is there support?
Support.
Thank you for all the support. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Senior composition course approved. May I please have a motion to approve the literature and the modern mind course?
I move to approve the high school new course request for literature and the modern mind as presented.
Thank you. Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Course is also approved. May I please have a motion to approve literature and the power of voice course?
I move to approve the high school new course request for literature and the power of voice as presented.
Thank you. Is there support?
Support.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Also approved? Okay, and that takes care of the, oh, no, it does not.
One more.
May I please have a motion to approve the literature and the human legacy course?
I move to approve the high school new course request for literature and the human legacy as presented.
Thank you. Is there support?
Support.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All the courses have now been approved. May I please have a motion to approve certified new hires?
I move to approve 2 certified new hires as presented.
Thank you. Is there any, or
Support.
Support, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And welcome once again to Kim and Rachel. May I please have a motion to approve schools of choice for 2026-27?
I move to approve the administrative recommendation to authorize schools of choice slots for the 2026-2027 school year as presented. For kindergarten through grade 8, the target SOC enrollment is not to exceed 10% of the building population or the total district enrollment for non-resident students when there is space available. For Learning Options High School, schools of choice acceptance will be determined by program circumstances with administrative input.
Thank you, Heather. Is there support?
Support.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. May I please have a motion to authorize the CERC partial demolition and site circulation bid award?
I move to authorize administration to finalize and execute the contracts listed in bid package 1 and 2 for the CERC partial demolition and site circulation in the amount of $4,789,787 and allowances and contingencies of $695,079 for a total recommendation of $5,484,866.
Thank you, Jake. Is there support?
Support.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Bid package award is approved. Lastly, may I please have a motion for the FOIA appeal dated January 9th, 2026?
I move that we deny the FOIA appeal submitted on January 9th, 2026, appealing the fee estimate in response to a FOIA submitted on December 13th of 2025.
Thank you, Birgit. Is there support?
Support.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the FOIA appeal is denied. Okay. With that, we actually move to public participation related to non-action items and topics. So, good evening. Welcome to Lake Orion Community Schools Board of Education meeting. This is a meeting of the board for the purpose of conducting school district business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. All individuals wishing to address the board were required to sign the public participation sheet prior to the start of the meeting. When addressing the board, please state your name so we may accurately record it in the minutes, and if you're willing to do so, also share your relationship to the district. The public participation portion of the meeting cannot be used to make personal attacks against a school board member or school district employee which are totally unrelated to the manner in which the member or employee performs his or her duties. If the comments constitute a complaint, the employee must be notified in advance and has the right to request a closed meeting. An individual's time is limited to 5 minutes. When you are at the podium, please direct all comments toward the Board of Education. If you are unable to complete your thoughts within the 5-minute time frame, you are welcome to submit your comments in writing. Lastly, please note that it is the board's policy to take all comments under consideration. However, it is not our practice to respond during the meeting. The board will also refrain from correcting any inaccuracies presented in public comments. We do have 8 individuals signed up, so if I could please invite Mr. Scott Gabriel to the podium. Yeah, you signed up first, right?
All right, Scott Gabriel, 941 Joslin. My relation to the schools is, volunteer. Couple little things. Number one, very good choice, cross-utilizing district this versus trying to mess around in the boardrooms over there. Good choice, whoever's idea that was. But we have no coffee here, and the other place we did. Just saying. I had the pleasure, as always, of doing the senior interviews as part of our finance class. It is a chance for anybody in the community to volunteer and come in. And as part of their graduation requirement, they have to do a resume and an interview with some local people. Always looking for people. Miss Pavlich, Christy Pavlich, is doing an awesome job. She's alone this year. She used to be 2 people, so she gets, double the praise. And I just want to say it's always a pleasure. You get to see the culmination of 12 years of work, and they're very nervous, most of them. But the school serves every student in its own way. You can have the 4.4, and he's going to Johns Hopkins, and we all know who that was. Or you can have the 1.1, but he has his OSHA certificate and his welding certificate through OTEC. Both students are well served. And the last thing is, one of our school of choice people, one of the questions is, what accomplishment are you most proud of? Her reply was, I was the first person in my family to graduate from Lake Orion High School. She was extremely proud to have come to this school. It meant a lot to her, meant a lot to her family. Remember, school of choice, they have to drive them here every day. There's no bus that goes get them. It's a commitment to that family to bring those kids here. And that was her proudest moment in her life. I don't know what else to say about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And just as an aside, 3 of you are up for reelection coming in November. If all 3 of you decide to stay on, that is well and perfect, and I really admire you and hope you do stay on. But if one of you chooses not to run again, I state my intention to run. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gabriel.
Next, Mr. Mike Bendel.
My name is Mike Bendel. My relationship to the district is I taught chemistry here for 30 years. I retired in 2018. After a few years off, I took a job teaching full-time over at Waterford Kettering, working for Benjamin Howard. Benjamin Howard? Oh my gosh. Forget I said that. Harwood. The reason I'm here tonight is because I did have the opportunity to teach Open SciEd. They asked me to pilot that over there in Waterford, so I did that. And so far, what I've heard is fairly accurate. It is highly discussion-oriented, but I thought maybe if from hearing some of your questions, I could clear some things up for you, maybe a little bit. For instance, the magnitude of the project, the magnitude of Open SciEd, consists of 5 units of study. Each unit of study is designed to be about 6 weeks. Each unit of study includes about 15 lessons, give or take. Some are 13, some are 14. When I say the magnitude of the project, what I mean by that is, for me as a teacher, when I look at the Open SciEd teacher edition of the notes, each one of those units is approximately 400 pages. So that's, in total, 2,048 pages of materials that are provided for teachers to deliver this curriculum. It's very, very detailed. Everything that you say, everything that you do, everything that you show to the students is aligned with some part of curriculum, which is good. I don't know if it's what you want to get into, because each one of those lessons is broken down into days. Each one of those days is broken down into minutes. So when I, as a teacher, am looking at the instruction for how to do this lesson, I'm also watching the clock, because it says I have 7 minutes to do this discussion, and then we have 2 minutes to do this turn and talk, and then we have 4 minutes to check out the slides. So it's very structured in that way. If that's what you're looking for, then you're in good shape. I mentioned slides. It is extremely AV oriented. When I say that, what I mean is each lesson has a series of slides with it. For instance, there might be, well, I'll give you an example. For Unit 3, which I think is the unit on lightning, there are 325 slides for that unit of study. So when you break that up into 30 days, you're talking about a program that includes 10 slides for discussion every day. So when you see what's up on your board when you're doing presentations, picture yourself being a student in school trying to learn chemistry, ostensibly, and it's slide after slide after slide. For me as a teacher, I said this was structured by the minute. What I mean by that is my lesson plan has a script, and it literally says, say this, click on slide K. Listen to the discussion. After that, click on slide L. And yes, it's supposed to be discussion-oriented, but the discussion is not as free-ranging and let's all talk about this and decide amongst ourselves, because the next slide, as a teacher, I have to get the kids to discuss things so that the next slide is pertinent. I have to get them in a place where the next poster that they make is the same as the poster that's in the lesson planning. So it sounds like it's going to be free range. Let's all learn, let's talk talk to each other, and it's not really like that. In terms of the chemistry content, it is not there at all. It is an earth science class that has some chemistry in it. And if you expect the kids to take this chemistry, open SciEd chemistry, and then go to AP chemistry, you might as well just assume that they know what they learned in 8th grade, because it's not chemistry oriented. Let alone talking about these kids taking open SciEd and then going to college. They will walk in knowing less than 3, 2, well, I gotta watch the clock. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Ms. Brendel.
Next, Jenna Bendel. Oh, if you, yep, I can come back to you. Is that, yep, I can skip over to the kids and come back to you. Okay, next up, Frank. Frank is it Shah? Is that how he said? Oh, perfect, Frank Shah. Thank you.
Impressive, not many people get that. Good evening to you all. I'm Frank Shaw. I am a student at Lake Orion High School and also the student with the highest GPA. I am a firm supporter of STEM, as I've been a 6-year member on the robotics teams in our community, not just the FRC team. And I've had many STEM accomplishments, such as testing out of an AP course, that being computer science, getting certifications in Java, software development, and computer programming. And I aspire to study at MIT. I didn't become passionate about STEM because it was easy. I became passionate about it because it was challenging. And it demanded more thinking, more effort, and more curiosity than other courses. Honors chemistry gave me that challenge. It forced me to better myself and prepared me for the rigor that was to be organic chemistry and now AP chemistry. Removing it tells students like me that there's no place to go deeper, no reason to push further, and no reward for my academic curiosity. General science classes alone cannot meet the standards of every student in this school, and especially the AP versions of the class. I understand the goal of equal opportunity that comes with the proposed Gen Ed classes, but this does not mean limiting opportunity. In my time in Lake Orion High School, I have met countless individuals I would deem equally, if not more passionate than me about STEM, some of which are in this room right now. Just thinking about them gets me excited because it reassures me that some of the future's best scientists, engineers, health specialists, and leaders will come from our high school. I hope that will include my 3 siblings, as all of them show more potential than I do, and it would be amazing if they could get the same blessing of honors science courses that I did. Honors science courses don't only support advanced students. They also give uncertain students a place to discover what they love before committing to the AP level coursework. Even if they are not a lover of the class, having an honors class which they can choose allows them the choice to up their GPA, which many do to better their college acceptance odds. So please, allow these students to have the choice that could accelerate their growth, the choice that would push them to their peaks, and the choice that could change our futures, the choice that could change the world's future. And for Jake, I really loved your nod to hypotheses when the others were presenting, and I would like to comment on that. Curriculum changes can't be evaluated like lab experiments, as they involve too many confounding variables I frankly believe that were not fully accounted for, such as class quality, the students' backgrounds, time constraints, as mentioned by Mr. Bendel, and actual career goals of the students. Honors chemistry and honors physics, they are not privileges, they're pathways to a better tomorrow. Thank you for your time, guys.
Thank you so much, Frank. Next, Liam Stewart.
Hello, everyone. My relation to the district is I've been a student here my entire time. I know many of you. I had Mr. Faber as my gym teacher. Mr. Tullerton, you were my principal back in 2nd grade and 3rd grade at Pine Tree. I know many of the teachers back here. I want to start by talking about the good things I think about this curriculum. I think that incorporating it all the sciences together is a good idea. I do really like that. I think for the gen ed classes that it's a good idea. You know, it helps those students like really piece things together. My fear arises with the honors level. I've taken gen ed classes myself, and my worst grade honestly came out of my gen ed biology class. The coursework is so, I don't want to say low level, but it's very slow paced, and there's not a ton of depth to it. And so for someone like myself, like I have ADHD and I get distracted. Like I can't focus on something like that. It doesn't challenge me. It doesn't make me want to like learn. It's not very time intensive. Like there's not much depth to it. So I took honors chemistry with Miss Nash back here in my sophomore year. And our first Friday in class, we did our first lab called Fire Friday. And since then, I've been in love with chemistry. I started with honors chem. I performed very well in that class. And now this year I'm taking AP chemistry. I did have her last year as well. And quite frankly, without that honors stepping stone, I wouldn't be ready for AP. Even this year, I struggled quite a lot going into AP Chem. The workload increase is insane. Like it's such a step up from honors. And I have a friend that came from Gen Ed, and on the second day of AP, she dropped out because she didn't even know what we were talking about. So where this ties in is, as Mr. Bendel said, the class isn't chemistry based. It's more of an earth science. So our current chemistry curriculum already isn't a good enough support for those to come up to AP. So if we change the basis of our chemistry to be more earth science based, expecting students to come from that and then move to AP is just not reasonable. I struggled coming from honors chemistry, and I think I finished with a 98. I'm pretty sure I finished with over 100 on every single one of my tests, and AP Chem has been a workload for me. It got better at me at some point, so I think it's unrealistic to expect students to come from a different gen ed chem that doesn't even really focus on chemistry itself and expect them to take a college level class and, you know, be proficient. I know Ms. Nash, she's an amazing teacher. I think her GPA, or not her GPA, sorry, her AP average is like a 4.6 or something. She's, I think, top 5 in the state. And I think expecting students to come from less of a, you know, chemistry knowledge and like base, and expecting them to, you know, still be proficient and excel in this AP level class is just unrealistic. I think that many students are going to struggle. I mean, like I said, I know somebody that came from our current gen ed and didn't do well. I've been struggling myself. So I think for the majority of the population that this new curriculum can be very helpful. I do think that even our current science, and not just science, but all our classes, like they can be more hands-on. I think being more guided and like actually thinking about something and not just here's work, do it. I think that's amazing. I think that's something we need. But my fear arises for those students that want to do better and they strive and want to challenge themselves. Being stuck in that option of you can have a class that's kind of chemistry, kind of physics, or taking, you know, a college level class, it's going to scare people away. Like going from no workload to the workload as expected out of you in these AP level classes, it's not going to be, you know, realistic for many to take. They're not going to, one, be ready for it. They're not going to know what's going on. So I think that if you decide to go through with this, AP Chemistry needs to become a 4-quarter class. Those first 10 weeks are going to have to be basically honors chem condensed down into 10 weeks because it's not realistic for kids to come out of, you know, chemistry. Let's say freshman year they double up and then take AP Chemistry sophomore year. They have no idea what they're going to get into. Like, it's not going to work out for them. It's going to end poorly, I believe. So I think there's a lot of benefits that can come away from this. I think there's, for those students that want to take a very base level science and they want to tie things together, I think it's amazing. But for the kids that want to push themselves and be better, I think they're going to have a rude awakening on what is really expected from them. And it's going to be quite a lot of work for them. And I don't know how many people will be able to handle it. Thank you.
Thank you, Liam. Next, Tim Godowski.
Hello, Board. My name is Tim Godowski. I'm a senior at Lake Orion High School. I am here today because of the proposed changes in the chemistry programs at the high school. First off, I want to say that all these high school students back here have exams over the next 2 days. We have exams on Thursdays and Fridays, and we've taken up since 6:30 today till past 10 p.m. tonight because that's how important we feel about this topic. I hope this shows that we are passionate about this, even though multiple of us are seniors in high school and all of us are in AP Chem, so this will not affect any of us, but we are passionate about those people beneath us that need to go through this same area that we are. As Lake Orion High School, we are an elite high school in Michigan, and removing options for advanced students feels counterintuitive. I have multiple older brothers that have gone through Lake Orion High School, leading them into some of the top public universities in the world, such as University of Michigan and the U.S. Naval Academy. Sam, my brother, who went to the Naval Academy, did not take AP Chemistry, as with the block schedule, it was impossible for him to take AP Chem, AP Physics, and AP Bio while taking band classes. So he took Honors Chem as a choice instead. With this experience, he was very well prepared to go into his college chem and got a degree in engineering through the U.S. Naval Academy. While IP is an option for many strong students, with it being 3/4 long, it is hard to fit in. These honors classes are built to give a strong base of understanding in a topic without the increased semester of class time. To take out honors chem for a general chem that is a one-size-fits-all class is doing disservice to both the students interested in more rigorous amount of science and those who aren't interested in advanced sciences. My honors chem teacher and AP Chem teacher, Mrs. Nash, who's been one of my favorite teachers at Lake Orion, has done me so well in preparing for both honors chem to be prepared for AP Chem and AP Chem to be prepared for college chem as I go into the STEM field. Doing this is not just affecting the honors science students by giving them a less rigorous information than honors chemistry class, but is also doing a disservice to those that want a general chemistry understanding by forcing them to go at the pace of an honors chemistry level for students striving for an AP chemistry class later. I hope this is considered when thinking about our next steps in the science programs of the high school. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Tim. Sarah Sikta.
Hello, good evening. My name is Sarah Sikta, and I'm currently a senior in high school at Lake Orion. I'm here to express my views on the proposal to change the science curriculum, views that are shared not only by my fellow students, but from some of my teachers that I'm honored to be taught by. I believe that I have an educated view of our science department. I have taken every single science class offered by LOHS with the exception of AP Environmental Science, but my twin sister Kate did actually take that. I'm the current co-president of the Science National Honor Society. I'm the secretary of our Go Green Environment Club, and I've worked closely with science teachers to promote science-based learning. And I believe that the proposal to stop offering honors chemistry and honors physics and instead have all students take general chemistry, biology, and physics is a mistake. Taking away students' opportunity to enroll in honors chemistry will severely impact their ability in taking higher level chemistry, whether it be AP Chem or general chemistry at a university. I'm a top student in my class, and I think that AP Chemistry is like the hardest class I've ever had to take in my life, and it is a struggle, I'm not going to lie, but it is manageable because I was able to take honors chemistry as a sophomore. And I'm gonna be honest, if I didn't have that, and I just had the basis that I got when I took physical science, I would probably drop that class. And I think that a lot of my peers would agree with me, that they think it just would not be possible. And my worry is that the students who take honors chemistry and go to college in Gen Chem would have the exact same thing happen. If they take a regular level chemistry instead of honors chemistry, and they go to general level, a Gen Chem at whatever university, they will struggle. And I think that that's doing a disservice not only to the kids who want to take AP Chemistry here at Lake Orion, but to everybody who wants to go and take general chemistry at a university. And so that is not only the people who, like the 30 kids who would be taking AP Chemistry here, but the hundreds of kids who want to go into the medical field, be engineers, be doctors, anything. And so I think that all students looking to major in a science field should have the opportunity to take honors chemistry. The science curriculum should be supporting its future doctors, its future engineers, its future nurses, and to help them, to give them the opportunities that they need. And I think that taking away honors chemistry would take that away. And I'm gonna be completely honest, I took biology when I was a freshman, and then when I was a junior, I took AP biology. And that jump, even for me, was insane. Like the first week, my sister can tell you, we were thrown in the deep end. It was crazy. I was like, what is going on? And I believe that if I had to do that from chemistry to AP Chem, it would be 1,000 times worse. And I really believe that we need an honors chem to let our students be successful here at Lake Orion High School. And the same goes for honors physics. I'm currently in AP Physics, and I think that without honors physics, it would be a disservice to all the kids who want to take AP Physics in the future, all the kids who want to be engineers, to be physicists. Yeah, so I think that the plan to do a general level biology, a general level physics, and a general level chemistry is a good idea to get rid of earth science and to kind of integrate it into that curriculum. But I think that both an honors chemistry and an honors physics should still be available to the students at Lake Orion High School. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe I hit all the students, so if you need to leave to go take exams tomorrow, thank you for coming. No, that's out. And so now I will return up the list to Jenna Bendel.
Hi, I'm Jenna Bendel. I am a teacher at LOHS. I've been teaching for 25 years, chemistry for 25 years. I have taught honors organic chem, honors chemistry, regular chemistry. I've taught team-taught chemistry. I've taught essentials of chemistry when we had that. I also teach biology, and I have taught AP biology in the past. So I just wanted to reiterate with having you guys listen to these students. They're the cream of the crop. They're the best that we have. And I think that with my experience of all the different levels of chemistry, I can honestly tell you that it is nice to have, you know, if tracking is the word that we use, maybe not the word that we use now, but to have the different levels or different tiers to allow kids to explore. I have students that have gone from general chemistry into honors chemistry because they liked it so much. I've also had kids try to make the leap from general chemistry into AP, and that is really rough. It is almost hardly ever, I can say never happens. The way that I teach chemistry, I am still teaching them the math. We're doing all the labs. I do scale it down a little bit, but they are doing chemistry. They're doing labs with Bunsen burners. They are measuring chemicals. They are doing activities. We are relating it to real world. We are doing things to help them understand the design and the features of the periodic table, the features of an atom, the structures of the atom, how they behave. So we're doing chemistry, okay, not earth science, but like truly chemistry, and that still is not preparing them for the level of AP. As a parent of a student who's an honors student, if the only option that we had for chemistry was Gen Chem and for physics, general physics, and then they were expected to make that leap to AP, I would not, I would be unhappy about that. I want him to have, to be among his peers in an honors class. I want him to have the opportunities to prove himself and to feel challenged and to be exposed to the math and to be exposed to the complicated concepts that go along with honors chem. The honors chem and the gen chem and the honors organic chem have been a labor of love for 25 years with Mr. Bundle, with Connie, with me. So although I do take the switch to take the honors chem out personally, I'm trying to focus on the idea of the new curriculum. And in my opinion, the new curriculum isn't bad. That's fine. I honestly don't know what it is. As a chemistry teacher, when we were presented this committee of the new science committee, we were told that honors chemistry was not going to be touched, that this would just be chemistry content replacing physical science content. And so Mrs. Nash and I both said, well, if this is not going to affect honors and AP and organic, then we're okay. We're not going to be involved in this decision. We're not going to do the PD because it was a lot of time and in the summer and out of class. And so we decided not to do that. And then 8 weeks ago, we're told that, no, this is going to affect honors, that honors is completely leaving. And we were kind of taken back from thinking that that wasn't what was going to happen and that we weren't going to go to all general chem and general physics. And so I feel like we were kind of told that this wasn't going to happen, and now it did. But for now, I think the OSC is fine. I don't have a problem. If you want us to do OSC, then we'll do OSC. But I would like to have the opportunity to have 2 levels of that so we can see where we can add in the honors content along with all the OSC to make it an honors level and to make it a gen level. I'm not sure why we can't do that. Why do we have to eliminate honors when we could take that same OSC content and then use our expertise in 25 years of teaching chemistry and lab and the networking that we have to increase that level and get it ready for the kids, or add that in and challenge them more, add the math in, because they always struggle with math. We need more opportunities for math. So maybe we could keep the 3 levels then. Maybe we can keep general OSC. Maybe we can develop an honors OSC, and then maybe that might help with our AP numbers. Connie does an amazing job with AP Chem. Everybody passed her AP Chem test last year, so she deserves a lot of accolades for that. And the kids that are staying here to talk to you at this late hour is a true badge of honor for her, and I admire her a lot. So I'm hoping that you'll take their word for it and her word for it, that she's done the research thinking that we had an opportunity to change your minds. So
Thank you, Jenna.
Sure.
Lastly, Connie Nash.
Hello, I am Connie Nash, and I have been teaching honors chemistry for the last 26 years. I've taught AP chemistry for the last 9 years. Just to clarify on some details, because he made up some numbers, my average is high for AP Chem. I have my average for the last several years have been over 4. It's out of a scale of 5. The global average is like a 3.2 or so. And 100% of my kids take the test, and 100% of my kids pass the test. So it's not like just the top kids take the course. So, you know, we have a really good program that we've built, like she said, over the last 25 years. And we're kind of questioning, like, if this is working, why are we trying to fix it? I mean, that's kind of where we got brought in, and we didn't think we were fixing it. As she mentioned, originally this wasn't part of the package that they were looking at, which is why we weren't involved. And in fact, no physics teachers, AP physics teachers, honors physics teachers have been involved either. So these pilots that have been run in a physical science class, which is a general ed class. And I think it sounds amazing. It sounds like it is very good for that population of students. And I don't want to take anything away from that, but we haven't piloted it at the honors level. We haven't piloted it with this group of kids. And when we say this group of kids, this year the sophomores that had the choice of taking honors chem and honors physics instead of physical science amounts to about 25% of the population. It's not 5 or 10, it's 25% took those honors level classes because they wanted the challenge. And that's the group that I'm concerned that we're doing a disservice to. By the way, this is all impromptu today. These students came on their own accord. They kind of got wind today because I honestly didn't know this was coming to the board. I thought we were still in the process of making decisions. So that's why I'm here, and we're trying to give you as much information as possible. So I have been doing research. I thought we were still in that process. I've been trying to find other districts who are doing this and see what the positives and the negatives are. Some of those include Rochester, as they mentioned, but what you should know is that Rochester is doing the OSC bio and chemistry. They are not doing the physics, and I have not gotten an answer why they have chosen not to do the physics. That is also true in Oxford, just down the road. They've been doing it for 5 years, and they do the bio and the chem, and they have not done the physics. So, and I'm not a physics specialist, so I can't really even speak to that end of it, but I think it's something that needs to be looked into. But as for Rochester, they do offer 2 levels. They offer what they call a physical science chemistry, which is a half a credit, and a physical science physics, which is a half a credit, and then they can do an earth science class. So they take bio, and then they take basically a physical science. So it's a half credit. It's not the full curriculum, but it's some of it. And then they still integrate the earth science. Or they take a full credit, and it is open SciEd, chemistry, or biochemistry, and then they do something else for physics. But the chemistry, now we're talking about a different subgroup, because the subgroup that is taking the physical science currently, they're not in that class. And that's kind of what I offered to do. When this started to happen, I was like, well, listen, why don't I pilot a honors chemistry version of Open SciEd and see how it works? I don't know. I've looked at the curriculum, but I haven't taught it, and it's not the same as just reading through. That doesn't seem to be the direction we're going. They're not willing to offer that option. And I don't know who I'm not pointing fingers to anyone, but this is, and again, we weren't on the curriculum committee because we didn't know, right, that this is how it was gonna affect the honors courses. Utica Schools piloted the OSE, and across the board, they decided not to go with it. Troy Schools, who was top in our, in our county, does not do Open SciEd. I spoke at length. The only teachers I've been able to actually meet with is the one from Oxford. I spoke at length with a chemistry teacher in Oxford, and the drawbacks that we've been talking about are what he's seeing. APs is not performing as well. They have to reteach and teach content that isn't there. And it's hard to add it in when you have that diverse population where some kids are struggling with what you're already giving them. So to add more on top of that is not really realistic. I know I'm out of time.
Yes,
I
thank
have
you.
more, and if you want more, I can send you more.
Yes,
I've
and
done
please
more
do feel free,
research.
as I mentioned in the opening
So-
statement, please feel free to send,
I will.
and you, Julie, to the board or to Heidi or Julie, and they will make sure it gets disseminated to all of us. I appreciate it. Thank you, Connie.
Thank you. With that, that concludes our public participation. Once again, thank you all for staying and being here. Good luck on exams. And with that, we'll move on to recap and next steps.
I do not believe we have any next steps.
Okay, thank you. Closing comments. We're going to start down here with Mr. Scott Taylor today.
Great to see everybody. Thank you for your support the past month with my injury. I am on the mend. I just can't use my arm. And it was great seeing the kids, great seeing the teachers and hearing their insight, kind of the other side of things that we don't always hear. I definitely appreciate that, and have a great night.
Thank you, Jeff.
Well, thank you to everyone who stayed for this long meeting and for sharing their thoughts tonight. A few quick things. I just want to wish the robotics team some good luck. This is the prime time for their seasons. The Hydro Dragons and the Team 302, and there's all kinds of numbers. I don't know them all. Thank you to our officers. As many of you know, the school board is a volunteer job, and they take on even more duties. So we appreciate, or I appreciate everything you're doing in addition to your other volunteer work. And finally, I wanted to give a quick thanks to Mrs. Sulu Var, who's stepping down after 8 years on the band boosters. We have so many great people around the district, and she's one of many, and I had the chance to work with her when my son was in the band, and And we have parents and staff and community members who give their time like this for our kids, and they aren't always recognized, and just they're really the backbone of some of the great things we do in the district. So that's all for me.
Thank you, Jeff. Birgit?
Yes, thank you everyone for a great meeting. Congrats to our officers. Appreciate all the presentations, and kudos to you that are still here. Amazing. And that's all. It's late. Let's go.
I actually forgot to start with you guys first because I'm so used to starting to my right. So I will start with, we'll just take a little pause for the board and we'll go back over here to Andrea.
Well, again, as Heidi already mentioned, thank you to all of you for your work. I do appreciate your questions and that you're intrigued by what you do and your volunteer work, so thank you. I do want to take just a quick minute, as this is a public meeting, to thank Julie Tyson, who will be retiring at the end of the month, for her 26-plus years of service with Lake Orion, and her position truly is essential with putting together all the budget, you know, the amendments, all the funds. So I just want to thank her. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Adam?
Thank you as well to the presenters tonight and all the recommendations brought forth and time coming to those recommendations. Congratulations and thank you to Julie Tyson as well. Very exciting time for her, but we appreciate all she's done for Lake Orion. As a parent, I would like to say thank you and give my appreciation to the Board of Education. Thank you for all the time and energy that you spend on, you know, putting in energy that you put forth into the district to make it the great district that it is, and the opportunities that you provide for all of our students. And with that, excited to wrap up semester 1 and kick off semester 2.
Thank you. Drew?
I'd like to welcome Rachel and Kim to the Dragon family, or I guess Kim back to the Dragon family, so welcome to them. Thank you to our presenters and everyone who stayed this evening. And then, you know, as has been echoed, a big thank you to all of you. I appreciate the work that you do and the conversations we have and all the work that we do for our kids, so thank you for everything you do.
Heidi?
Just a thank you to the township for letting us use this space. This will be our new home for board meetings, so still same time and same schedule, but thanks to the township for letting us use the space. And then a shout out to all of our students who planned sellout. I had an opportunity to talk to many of the heroes, and they had commented over and over again how appreciative they were, and they look forward to coming to the high school each year. So that was awesome there. And I think that's it.
Thank you. Jake? Happy New Year. Okay. Excellent. Susan?
Still getting used to the new digs. Thank you to the township, as Heidi said. Really wanted to thank everybody that came. This was a super long meeting. It's wonderful to have the students here. Appreciate hearing their voices, appreciate hearing the teachers' voices, the community's voice. And so just really glad they could come, and thank you for sharing their viewpoints, and thank you. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Heather?
Yeah, just echoing what Susan said. Love to hear the student voice, and, you know, having been on curriculum committee, it always strikes me, and I always try to ask for, like, because I feel like it's like the positive, and just trying to look for those things that maybe we're not seeing or thinking about. And so I just appreciate that, was able to hear those different perspectives tonight. And Happy New Year, and here we go.
There you go. Yes. Ditto, of course. Thank you, especially to the students and the teachers. You guys have to be there tomorrow morning, too. So that stayed at this late hour to share their thoughts. Once again, thank you to the township. I'm still getting used to the new format and setup, so, you know, as I skip over and whatnot. And, you know, I can't believe it's already 2026, and here we go. So looking forward to the next semester for the students. And with that, we are adjourned.